there, ref. That she got the ball. Yes, good afternoon, Spurs fans, and welcome back to the channel. The wait is finally over. It is the opening day of the 26-27 Premier League campaign, and Roberto De Zerbi leads the Tottenham troops away in a London derby against Brentford at the G-Tech Community Stadium. And it's been a massive summer of change for Tottenham Hotspur. Roberto De Zerbi has been back, with Tottenham breaking their transfer record back-to-back, bringing in Fernandes and Sandro Tonali. And we're also expecting to see new debutants, Van Hecke and Zanessi, and also Anthony Robertson making his debut as well today, competitive debut for Tottenham Hotspur. So a lot of excitement in the air. It is a club trending in the right direction, and hopefully we can cap it off with a good opening win to start the campaign off and kick Spurs off in the right direction. And as you can see, we are joined by the usual. No Soren today. Soren is not available. I think he's probably out, feeding the country or on a cruise. It's usually one or the other. But he will be back for the game, I believe, midweek against Charlton Athletic in the Carabao Cup. But look, over to you, Jacko. Let's get it going. I mean, how excited are you to get this season underway this year? Is it more sort of relief, turn a new sort of leaf? Where are you at with it? You excited?
I mean, we always say Spurs are back, but it does feel different. A different level of spending, a different caliber of manager, better football, someone that also we almost owe our lives to in De Zerbi. He saved our bacon last season, so we're just excited to see what he's capable of now going into this one. And I think the big question mark after the 7 games was, yes, he's, of course, saved Spurs from torture and torment for a long time, but what is he going to get from the board? What is he going to get in the summer? Is he going to get what he wants? You could say a lot of people, are already feeling like it's a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 window. I think it's only the case that you could say Spurs are feeling like, what's the ceiling this season? Like, what are we capable of? With only 1 game a week, there's always that advantage as well. A manager that's, I think, very feared as well by a lot of just other managers and just tacticos of the world. He's ahead of his time to a degree. I'm just excited to see what Spurs are capable of. Now, that being said, we'll get into the lineups and everything, so I won't steal too much of people's limelight, but what are we capable of today, I guess, which we'll get into. But I think there's only buzz around Spurs. I think for once in a while, maybe the first time in a while, you could say you'd be hard-pressed, Dave. You'd have to be like a Where's Waldo situation to find the one Spurs fan that might be super, super skeptical ahead of this season. It's almost like every Spurs fan's on cloud 9. Every Spurs fan is happy clapping Leighton Evelyn. I'm pretty sure the reason he's probably not even in the chat yet is because he's on cloud 9. So I'm looking forward to it, Dave. Looking forward to it. Everyone's on cloud 9, to be honest.
Believe it or not, I did find that one Spurs fan. I tuned into Mr. Box Office. Was it last night or the night before when I was going to bed? So I've already found that pessimistic Spurs fan, Jacko. But, to add into the excitement, it's also an unknown Premier League this year. How's Michael Carrick going to fare at Man United? Well, we got the answer on that one today. A lot of new managers at the big clubs. So, you're not up against your Peps and Klopps and managers like that who had a stranglehold over the Premier League. It is open to dream, which probably is even worse because we're going to have to deal with an even more upbeat Dermo this season, which is probably sometimes a good thing. But Dermo, down to you, my man. How are you feeling ahead of the opening game of the Premier League campaign? You've got to be excited, right?
It's like Christmas Day, New Year's Day, birthdays, everything rolled into once, apart from getting married, which I had a bad experience, so I will forget about that. But look, we've had a great summer. We're going to end the transfer window well. And I think the sky's the limit for Tottenham. Why not? Let's aim for the top. Let's say go for the league. Why not? If we get the right players in, we could end up winning the league, and why not? Today is to do, isn't it? Today is to dream. That's what we're all about. That's why we're all here. And I think with De Zerbi at the helm, look, I'm not fully trusting this new board yet. They have to prove it to me. They have to back it up in January, back it up next summer. But if this is the way they're going to go about business, then bring it on. I haven't been I've got 80 vibes. I've got Berkshire vibes about this team and about us going on and winning an FA Cup next season and dominating, winning cups again and dominating for Champions League and league. Spurs are back, baby. And we're back in a big way. And I can't wait. Come on. Bring it on.
Absolutely love that. As you can see, Dermo really doesn't need any encouragement, but hopefully we'll all be a bit of Dermo this year, happy clapping our way through the season. But Martin, just to appease maybe the more pessimistic fans out there, not even appease them, but I suppose there is a fair argument to say, let's not get too carried away. We're off the back of 2 17th place finishes. Yes, we survived, but it was incredibly stressful. And some might see another tricky campaign ahead. We haven't addressed the forward line going into this game. Now, I know we've got signings on the way, supposedly, but, we go into there with sort of still a lackluster forward line. And a lot of our experienced players or better players don't have minutes in their legs over preseason. So, and some of them aren't even fit enough and ready, for the opening games of the Premier League. Do you think we will endure another stressful season, or with the sheer amount of money that we've spent with the right manager in charge, which is also crucial? Should we be looking at the top half of the table?
I think we've got to, just purely on what's happened. You rewind a couple of months when we was all last year on that last day of the season to how we was feeling and what we was going through to how we're sitting here today. Without kicking a ball, we should be looking forward and upwards, and there's no reason on this earth why we shouldn't be up there. But then you factor in what you've just said, Dave, about players come back and players this, and they've got to gel these new ones. And I don't think pre-season's been that great for us because he's played a lot of the youngsters, and if they're not going to be part of the going forward, pre-season was a bit of a damp squid in that effect. But looking at the business we've done, we've shored up the defence, right? The Romero situation, love him or hate him, it was probably his time. But before that went and we left it to the end of the window to try and get rid of him to then get someone in, it was done straight away. Enoch said they'll put their money where their mouth is. And at the beginning of the window, they went straight out and they done it. And we all got excited and all jumped in Jack's happy clapping camp. And then there was a big dull period. But any normal fan would realise they've spent a lot of money. They're going to recoup some before we go again. So, once they knew they got some money in, then we're going to see the final flourish of the window. But I can be pessimistic and optimistic on any given day. But we just the front line is a fear. If we don't sort that, which we look like we're going to, we'll be all right. If we do go into it with what we've got and what we're used to, there is going to be some doubts creep in. And if a couple of games don't go our way, it won't take long for the fans to sort of turn a little bit. But I just can't see it, and I'm not allowing it today for me to go down that road. I'm staying with Jack today and Dermo. So. We'll see what happens by the end of the game. But, yeah, we've got to be looking forward. We've got to be looking European places.
100%. Any club that's spending 300 million, the aspiration is to get back up into European spots for sure. Stevie, look, you could also make the argument the last couple of seasons, we didn't have the right managers in charge. Ange Postecoglou, naive when it comes to Premier League. Frank didn't have the charisma, to take a club like Tottenham forward. Do you think we've got the right guy in De Zerbi to match the Spurs fans' aspirations this season, which is, by all accounts, I think a lot of Spurs fans are aiming to get back Champions League football this year. Absolutely. And I don't want to hear it happen because Man United done it last year, and also Leicester finished 17th and went on to win a Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, big shout out to the chat. Hope you guys have enjoyed your summer, and I hope it was a great summer. Same to you, Davo and Jacko. Again, hope everything was great for you this summer. And again, thanks for the hospitality this season. Listen, I think that was obvious when Roberto De Zerbi came in, because right off the jump, it almost felt like the players bought in automatically, and all of a sudden you saw a change of confidence within this group. You actually saw the fight and you saw the hustle. And when De Zerbi first came in, it was a little bit of a tough test for him, because we had been through the absolute slog with Thomas Frank and Igor Tudor to a point where it almost felt like some of these guys were in the midst of a rebellion, and so you had to come in. He had to come in and change the environment. He had to change the culture. And by the way, he only had 9 games to do it within, right? So it really was a mission impossible type of situation. But you also saw this team completely turned their fortunes around in 7 games. It was a sprint to the end of the season. And by the end of it, and when we stayed up, you heard nothing but positive vibes coming out from this team. They couldn't wait and look forward to the next season under a guy like Roberto De Zerbi. And so I think that is everything. I think that is, that's something that you want to hear, because when we were wondering whether or not there was actually harmony and peace within this changing room, and we heard stories about players openly disrespecting Thomas Frank. You heard players that would just show up whenever they wanted to when it came to training, and we saw exactly how that carried out to the point where there was one point where we thought for sure we were going down last year. And, from that standpoint, I think that just goes to show you what a man manager is actually going to do for some of these guys to lift up their spirits. And so from that standpoint, when you add that into the equation, when you look at our summer transfer window, which was absolutely brilliant, and I'm not being hyperbolic, in the 25, 26 years that I've been following this club, this single-handedly was the greatest summer transfer window I think I've ever seen. I haven't seen this much quality come through the door in one summer. And then when you add that to the guys that are returning, I would probably assume that this club probably looks at themselves and like, yeah, we probably can do this. I bet the self-belief in this club is absolutely through the roof right now. They're looking forward to that this match today against Brentford, because they probably have the self-belief and the confidence that they can chase down the impossible. 100%.
And I agree. I certainly think we've got the right manager in charge to lead us and drag us up this table with the squad that he's got. Because, I think the big difference for me is when Frank came in and said, we're going to lose games, 100% guarantee you that was a huge red flag for me straight away. Straight away, I was like, this guy doesn't even believe in himself. So if he doesn't believe in himself, how does he expect other people to believe in him? Roberto De Zerbi walked but when we were in the relegation zone and said, we're going to win all of our last 7. Now, that didn't happen, but he won enough to be able to drag us out of relegation. And not only that, then it's continued on into summer. He's dictated the players that he's wanted to bring in here. And I always believe, to take on a big club like Tottenham Hotspur or any of the big 6 clubs in the Premier League, you have to have a way of playing that players believe in, that's going to win them games, and that's tried and tested. But you also have to have a bit of charisma and character about you. With Ange Postecoglou, it was arrogant. He alienated people every time he opened his mouth. With Thomas Frank, it was just a lack of conviction in what he was saying all the time, looking for excuses. Whereas with De Zerbi, I also think he's got the character to lead this club through tricky times, because there will become a point in the season where we end up, through a little bit of a turbulent spell. But he has the courage, he has the way to be able to lead us through it, and that was proven in the relegation zone. When this club was on its floor, the fans' belief was on its floor, the owners' belief was on its floor, all the boardroom people's belief was on the floor, and even the players' belief was on the floor. This guy came in and showed the leadership. So I fully believe in Roberto De Zerbi to be able to manage us a respectable finish in the Premier League. But you best believe this guy gets out of bed. He doesn't get out of bed thinking, oh, you know what, I want to achieve Champions League football, I want to get European. He believes he can win the Premier League this year. That's why he gets out of bed. That's what motivates this guy. And for me, that's what makes this season exciting ahead. Last year it was all about why we can't win. This year it's all going to be about why we can win, how we're going to win, and going into every game knowing you're approaching it to win the game as well. I can't wait.
Yeah, and I will say that it's a breath of fresh air with Roberto De Zerbi, because when a reporter asks a question, he doesn't sugarcoat it. He actually just comes out and says exactly what needs to be said. He doesn't blow smoke. And that's what I absolutely love. That's the problem with a guy like Thomas Frank last season. It was excuse after excuse, even when the football was bad. And we have 2 eyes; we can see it. He was always searching for an excuse of the reasons of why. And at the end of the tenure, it was absolutely exhausting. Where you have a guy like Roberto De Zerbi, and he's going to keep it absolutely real 100% of the time. If you want to know why, he's going to tell you it might be good, it might be bad, but it's a breath of fresh air.
100%. Well, look, let's welcome in some chat. We've already got nearly 300 people in the building. Let's bring some chat in, and then let's talk about some exciting things. Savinho due in, Mickey Van de Ven selected as captain, and then we'll also get into talking about the team for today's game. Terry Betts says, good luck to good old Spurs. I hope we have a season to joy. I think we're all with you on that one, Terry. We've also got Paul, big up Dave and Jack. So glad to have Spurs back for another season. 100%. And this one, we're hoping it's going to be a lot more positive and a lot more winning involved, which also makes it a lot more fun. Paul, we've got Sham Tam. Big up, my man. He says, hey, Jack, Dave, and panel, it's game day. Finally, wow. It felt like a really long off-season, hoping for a much better season. But after the De Zerbi presser, no Porro, Van de Ven, Destiny, Kulu, Kudos, and Matters. Do you know what? I did see a clip circulating of Kudus out in Ghana. I think it was at his grandmother's house for her funeral and all. So I'm not even sure if he's going to be in the country this weekend for this game. Originally, I thought he might be on the bench, but it looks like he might not even feature in the squad today in that regard. But do you know what, Shem? We've done the majority of preseason without these guys, and you just hope we've got enough in our locker today to be able to get over the line against Brentford, and then the reinforcements are coming. Big up, Shem. Good to see you in the building, my man. We've got Tyler in the house, member for 43 months. Good afternoon, Tyler. Says, come on, you Spurs. We are back. One masterclass or one Mikey Moore masterclass before he's loan. Of course, we will get in and talk about him. Now, it'd be interesting to see if he does actually end up contributing, say, a goal and assist today, for instance, whether they keep him around or whether they ship him out on loan after bringing in the reinforcements. It'd be very, very interesting, because I think that'd be very harsh, because the big question around him is, can he hang at this level? And if he produces in today's game, then there's an argument to say he can. You're still going to ship the guy out on loan. So we'll have to have a conversation around him, T. Good to see you in the building, my man. Limpy Down Under, hi Jack and Babe, get in Hull City, big up Limpy Down Under. Let's not get that thing going whatsoever. Danny Darko, good to see you as always, sir. Mr. William Webb, great to see you. Hull beat Man United 2-0, Manure 2-0, was well deserved. 5-4-1 formation, hard to break down, and they played with wit on the attack. They will be a tough team at home. They will, but United aren't exactly a great team at the minute either. You know, I think last year not having Europe and all sort of benefited them. This year, with Michael Carrick being the full-time manager as well instead of interim, there's things he could have let slide that last year that he won't be able to let slide this year, you know. So be very interesting to see how they get on down there. Greeny says Brentford are favourites for today. Probably based off the fact that we finished 17th last year and they finished in European football, I would argue. And we've got Dane in the house. Let's go. Come on, you Spurs. Good to see you. Truth sets you free. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Who else have we got here? We have Neil Shafton. He says, eating some of my pasta salad made with penne, shrimp, Roma, tomatoes, feta, and herbs, Parmesan cheese. Do you know, there's so many ingredients in there. You've got me lost, but it sounds good. It almost sounds like you're eating a paella or something with that many ingredients in it.
That sounds terrible.
You enjoy your lunch. Leighton Evelyn says, even he's a happy clapper. Well, good to see you coming into the season positive and optimistic, my man. Anna Cole, she's gone with a 3-1 for Spurs. We also have Odere. I'm excited. I really am. We will be controlled, and it will be a different watch than what we're used to, though Brentford are a better team right now. 1-1. I think that's an absolute fair comment. J-Mac, good to see you, sir. Big up, Davey Ladd, Jacko, Stevie Martin, and Dermo. Come on, you Spurs. Choppy cheese. I'm jacked up, boys. How about Hull beating United? Spurs bounce back incoming. Oh, my man, I really hope we can start it off with, if we win today, honestly, Spurs fan base is going to be lit for a whole week. It's going to be brilliant. Kerry King says, afternoon all, we're back. Come on, you Spurs. We've also got Stefan Bloys in the house. Big up, guys. Good to see you and great to have you back on the fan show last Monday, my man. He says, let's get carried away. We got a new team. Absolutely. Lily White India in the house. Can't tell you guys how much I miss these shows. Big up, everyone. Thank you for doing the work. Come on, you Spurs. Really appreciate that. And hopefully we can deliver them with a lot more optimism and excitement this year. You guys don't have to tune into our doom and gloom sort of faces this year. Hopefully that's the plan. Anna Leslie, afternoon, guys. Happy new season. Dermo's getting me hyped. Heading off to the pub to meet up with the Glasgow Spurs. Up the Spurs. Well, enjoy your trip to the pub, my man. Enjoy your day out. We've got Mark P in the house. Afternoon, everyone. We're back. Come on, you Spurs. Absolutely love that. And we've got Paul, or Fantasy Muck Mac Shane, Irish Hotspur. Time for you to forgive Mickey. Well, I presume that's coming off my controversial comments on Last Word on Spurs last night. About Mickey Van de Ven's captaincy, but we'll get into that in just a moment, my man. And then we've also got We Are Spurs TV. We're back. We Are Spurs TV is back with 5 jewels. Really appreciate the support, my man. Thank you very, very much. Well, look, let's get into it. I mean, Jacko, Tottenham are due to announce the signing of Savinho for a massive £85 million from Man City. Now, for years, Spurs have relied heavily on the guaranteed 30 to 40 goals a season from Harry Kane and Son. Now we're spending up to £85 million on Savinho, a player with world-class 1v1 talent, but a struggle for goal output at Man City. I believe, 2 Premier League goals over the last 2 seasons at Man City. Does Savinho actually solve our biggest problem, which is replacing those goals and assists? That's why we're signing forward players, right?
Yeah, you would think. I think immediately he's going to solve the creativity imbalance. I think on the right side, we're going to be playing Mikey Moore most likely today. Like, that speaks to just there's no one out there that we can really actually put on the pitch that we're totally confident in that can be able to take the burden away from Matisse Tell, because I did feel like the last 7 to 8 games under De Zerbi, we were heavily reliant on certain players to be sort of the chief and sole creators, because we had been playing such terrible football that players had almost forgotten how to play football, it felt like, under Igor Tudor and Thomas Frank. And then we were kind of reliant on anybody that could actually have a good first touch, anyone that could actually see a pass into the box or see a pass into the final third, or could create with maybe a bit of individual skill. And that meant we were really heavily reliant on that type of player. And Matisse Tell, in a way, was providing that, but we still know he's raw. We still know he has still a long way to go. And I think Savinho is a similar case, but it's going to be good to finally be able to balance it out, because what you don't want is that situation that we had with, like we said, the last 7 games with Tell, or even under Ange Postecoglou, where it felt like, yeah, Sonny is more the creator. Sonny's more the guy that can beat his man, create something down the left side, and then Johnson was the one to tap at home. We became very predictable. I think what we do need at the end of the day, ultimately, is 2 very good 1v1 specialists on the wings, guys that can beat their man, can put a cross in, can be able to create that chaos. And I think Savinho is going to do that. But to your point, I can't guarantee whether that's going to actually churn out goals and assists. Maybe having a better striker, which maybe we'll get onto in Marmoush, or even just for Charleston, getting even more service could help us. But I think Savinho is a mystery in that regard. But I think the one positive you could definitely guarantee is that I think he will at least take away some of the attention and some of the focus that was always on the left side for past 2-3 seasons. Felt like we've been a team that could only attack down one side for the last 2-3 seasons. So at least there's that, Dave. That's the positive I can, but goals and assists, we'll find out. I really hope so. I really, really hope so.
Goals is certainly one thing that's lacking in his game. But Martin, when you look at Savinho, do you see enough in the kid to at least pick up the assists? Because look, he's not going to do a Sonny where he's going to beat a load of players and consistently put the ball in the back of the net. But at least if he can provide consistent chances for other players, you would argue that's worth the 85 million.
I don't know about the 85 million, but as I say, I've been consistent with this one. I don't see it, or I haven't seen it yet, and I am here to be proven wrong, because we're paying this money for this player. I want him to be a game changer. Like, we bought the 2 in the midfield, we spent big money on them. We can all sit here and say 100% they make us better. This one is, I said to you before, I think on the last show we did, I said, I don't see where the 85 million is between him and Tell, what we already moaned about paying 30 or 40 million for. But that's not to say I'm hating on the kid and I don't want it to work out, because I do. And if you listen to Pep and other people, and I have been listening to other people on him, it's a bit of a mixed bunch. Some are for it, some are on my side of the camp. But in this system, I don't think he's had a fair crack of the whip at Man City. I'll say that. Same as Marmoush. Pep changes his thing and does what he does, and he doesn't throw players straight in anyway. He always bleeds time with them. So hopefully he wants Spurs. That's the one thing. No one can deny he hasn't, been flirting with us, like, as in almost stalking us to come and get him this summer. So he wants to come for whatever reason. We will never know, but he wants to come. And I really hope he comes in and he proves me wrong day one, and I sit there and go, wow, I didn't see it. I just feel it's a lot of money for something I haven't seen. Like, we've seen Tonali, we've seen Fernandes, and you can go, might be overpaying, but I can see their value. I haven't seen it yet with him. But by people that, know football better than me, They all seem to think he's got it in there and his ceiling is high. So is this the club where he takes it on and he grabs it with both hands and we see this fantastic player and he does take? I've seen him take people on and he is good. But then it comes to your forward line. If he's going to do all that running, put it in. But then does Richie combine with him? We have two Brazilian up top and it all works out. Who knows? But I'm hoping it does. That's all I can say, really.
Fair. Nick Carey says waited a long time to replace Aaron Lennon. What I would say with Aaron Lennon, when he burst onto the scene, he was a bit frustrating. The raw pace, 1v1 ability, bet his man all the time, but there was no end product. But given time, a bit of patience, and people working with him, he developed that end product and became absolutely devastating. Just a follow-up question, Martin. Do you think De Zerbi can improve his game in terms of that? Because if you look at the strides that Matisse Tell has made already under such a short time under Roberto De Zerbi, could it be the same case for Savinho here?
It definitely can, 100%, because you listen to any ex-pro that's worked with De Zerbi and, the pros around the game that just observe him and they go and watch his training sessions as other managers and things like that. And he does improve players. And I think he improves the younger players. And as you say, you can see, like, Tell did improve. And I think the likes of Odegaard would improve if he was still around now. Do you know what I mean? And Maddison, I think he would bring the best out in Maddison. I do think in that attacking part of the pitch, I think he has a basis of what he wants to do at the back, how he wants to get there. But it's all emphasised on what we do up top. So I think he got them foundations setting at the back with people he can trust, like Van Hecke and Senesi and things like that. Safe bets, Premier League proven. No betting in time. Nothing that he's got to really take his focus off to go, look, I need you to do is spend time with. He brought in good solid players at the back and the midfield that can sort of just listen to his tactics. And I really hope the youngsters we got up front, because Kudus is still young, and Tell's still young, Odegaard's still young. Kulusevski, I know he's been around a while, but he's still young. And if he does get back, all these players, and then you get Marmoush and Savinho, if he can improve them in any way to play his system, because if they move on from us, don't care how they play, but while they're here with us, if they can play his system to how he wants it, 100% he can improve them, and we could all be sitting here shocked. On this subject at the front line, I am a bit worried, but I'm really hoping, and I do believe in De Zerbi. This is no doubt on him. It's just whether these players can take in his tactics, do what he says. And if we do, then I think we're in for a very good high-scoring season.
I think one thing with Savinho, one thing that is guaranteed, because Jack is right, you do have to, you can't just keep having Matisse Tell double and triple mark. That's what was happening towards him under De Zerbi last season. You do need other players that will occupy the defense, keep it honest, keep it spread. One thing Savinho will initially do, and I do think C4 has a good point there, he will open up a lot of space for other people, but it's then making sure he knows the right time to move that ball on, to utilize that space so that we can kill them with the space that he's opened up. Absolutely great point. But Stevie, you're not a big fan of this signing, I'm correct?
No, not at all.
Tell
not at
why.
all. And I guess from the outset, I will say that coming into this the summer transfer window, we absolutely needed at least 30 goals across the attacking three. We absolutely had to get to a point where we're up in that 60, 70 goal output for the season. Because if that is the dream, if that is the expectation to get back into a European spot, we absolutely need end product across the attacking three. And that's my biggest problem, right? We haven't really seen, Savinho have a decent season since the last time we saw him at Sevilla in Spain a few years back. Manchester City there you go, Girona. Sorry about that. We saw Manchester City take a gamble on him, and it didn't pay off to the point where he was routinely passed over when injuries hit. In that position, to a point where Pep Guardiola went out and just improved the position because he didn't have enough faith that Savinho was going to be able to come good. And now, I guess the counter argument was that maybe he just wasn't a good fit for the system. Okay, fair. But the reality is, it's like, in the lineage of Brazilian attackers, he does have that flair. He does have that touch when the ball comes in. He's able to take on a defender or create space, but there is absolutely no consistency in his balls delivered into the box, which is also another bugaboo that we've been dealing with. since the days of Sonny. But also it's the end product, right? Where you're absolutely looking for somebody to take on their defenders, get into open space and put a shot. There's also a very inconsistent aspect to his game where he just does not score goals. And for a team that desperately needs goals, we already have the similar profile on the other side of Mohamed Kudus, right? We didn't need another one. And especially when you look at the money that we paid out at certain positions, the last thing we needed is to bring in a winger that has two tools and you're looking to develop another one or maybe two. We don't necessarily have that type of time with this team, right? You were expecting somebody to bring in that was a little bit more ready-made, which is why I like the idea of Cody Gakpo, because you absolutely know exactly what you're getting from Gakpo. You're getting 8 to 12 goals and you're getting 8 to 12 assists as well too. That dude is constantly delivers. And so from that standpoint, I'm looking at this and it's like, okay, 85 million is quite a gamble, to bring in so Roberto De Zerbi can work his magic. But that being said, he's not a wizard. He doesn't have a wand. He can certainly put him in positions of strength to help him along. But the reality is Savinho is going to have to do it. And we've seen now for a few years at Manchester City, he was being routinely passed over because he just wasn't good enough. And all of a sudden he's supposed to come into Spurs and be that guy. I don't think so.
Just to push back, Steve, didn't you call it the best window you've ever seen?
It is from the standpoint of we finally got a midfield engine, and we can't compete in the Premier League without a midfield. And so from that aspect, I absolutely was buzzing with those two signings. And I actually like the business we did, not only on the defense, but also getting rid of certain players that didn't have a future here at Spurs. And so from that aspect, it was certainly one of the best windows that we've ever had, if not the best. But that being said, when it comes to the attacking three, we still haven't addressed goals. And that is something that is potentially going to rear its ugly head if we're trying to search for consistency and kick up the table.
I do understand where you're coming from. It is a point I've made myself around Savinho. Does he actually address the problem? Because the reality is the problem we're dealing with is even going 50% of the way to match what Kane and Son's output was at Tottenham. Because the reality is when they were here, consistent top four finishes. As soon as Harry Kane leaves, Son, picks up half the slack, but it was an underwhelming campaign. We finished 5th that season. But then as soon as Son leaves, 2 17th place finishes. And I said this on Last Word on Spurs last night, and I know in the comments some guy put in going, "Oh, you're talking nonsense. The goals will be spread around." I've heard this theory before when we were selling Harry Kane. The reality is your centre-backs will always chip in with some goals. Your full-backs will chip in with a couple. Your midfielders chip in with a couple. So do your wingers. But you need that guy up front or that winger that can produce 15 to 20 goals a season to have you consistently challenging up the very top or in and around the top and getting you deep in cup competitions and stuff like that. You need that one player. All the best teams in the world will have that one or even two of them guys. We had them. So this is what we're trying to replace to bring ourselves back, to them dizzying heights. I do question whether Savinho is going to come in and be the answer. You look at, we put it all on Matisse Tel's shoulders when we signed him and brought him in. It's took him a year and a half to get going in a Tottenham jersey. Everyone made the same mistakes with Xavi Simons when he came in. It took him at least 4 or 5 months to warm to the Premier League and stuff like that. Now, the advantage is that Savinho's been in and around the Premier League, so you're hoping there's not that adaptation period. But it is a bit of a gamble by Tottenham Hotspur. But at the end of the day, if it's what De Zerbi wants, now I struggle to believe in that slightly as well. Tottenham have been linked with Savinho and chasing him way before De Zerbi even became manager at this football club. But at the end of the day, where I'm at, the window's running out. The options aren't available. And I would rather take the gamble, Stevie. I do want to see something fresh. I want to analyze something fresh. I'm sick of talking about the same problems with the same players.
Yeah, and I will say that I hope I'm absolutely proven wrong, that he comes in and he kicks on and he absolutely improves. And if that happens, I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. But that being said, it's like, I'll give you a comparison, right? Like when we bought Dominic Solanke, there was something on his CV that would suggest that he might come good. And then, of course, in that first season, it was injury riddled, but he still had a 15-goal season. And with this season coming up, if he's in a good rotation and he can stay healthy and we can keep him healthy, there's a good reason to assume that he might be able to get back to that 15-goal limit or that 15-goal area that he had previously got to. Right. With the problem with Savinho, he doesn't have it on the CV in the Premier League. we have no idea if he's capable of even competing at this level, let alone being consistent. So for me, that's my biggest worry, is we haven't seen it before, and we paid a premium to get him through the door, right? So at that standpoint, it's like, again, I hope I'm wrong, and I would love to be proven wrong. But that being said, it's just, my biggest fear is that he doesn't kick on, and in January we're looking again for another left winger, if not next summer, and we have a contract we can't get off of. That's my biggest worry.
No, 100%. Look, one thing I will say to Spurs fans is, whether you're pro or anti Savinho, I think he'll contribute some numbers, but I wouldn't expect that consistency to be there week in, week out with his age and stuff like that. I would expect there to be purple patches, if you know what I mean, and then periods of maybe a lull when it comes to Savinho. But one guy that did tell us all summer long Savinho will be joining Tottenham Hotspur is the man below me, Dermotron. Dermo, you excited about this signing, the big bomber?
I am, and there's more. I think I will get his name right, believe it, but Maimarsh's medical could be booked for Monday. So wait in the next sort of 24, 48 hours. That might get announced as well in the next 48 hours. Now, don't quote me on that, but that's just what I'm hearing on the grapevine. So keep an eye out on your feeds for that. Look, I hear what Steve and I hear what you guys have been saying about Savinho, the good and the pros and the good for it. I am excited about Savinho because you look at players that go to one club that can be absolutely shite, but they come to another club and they absolutely blossom for whatever reason. Either it's the manager, the formation, whatever. And I think Savinho has the talent to really surprise a lot of Spurs fans this year. He's 22, he's not 28, as somebody said, put in the chat. He's a young lad. And I think under De Zerbi, he can improve and he will get better. And I just think that we're too quick to judge players from other clubs' performances without trying to give them a bit of a chance. Look, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone's entitled to how they think about certain players. Look, I don't
what
like...
do you judge him off then, if you can't judge him off what he's done at his previous club?
I think you gotta look at the good things he's done at the previous club. You also got to take other things into consideration. The manager, did he play him all the time? The formation. He was bought there and then he wasn't played. It's a bit like Marmoush. Marmoush was never, ever going to go and replace Haaland. He was there as Omar, I think I will. Okay, Shake. I think I'll take you off on that one.
Good effort,
As
though.
I said to the background, I have a fucking speech impediment. I can't help it. I apologise. Yeah. And I've been saying it for nearly 5 years and I don't learn. But
you're cracking everyone up at home.
I'm good. I'm glad. That's what I'm here for. I'm the channel comedian. That's my job. But if you look at when he went to Man City, you look at Jack Grealish for example, right? 100 million, supposed to be the next thing. Didn't make it a Man City for whatever reason. And Pep, I think, was I want that player, then finds out, oh, hang on, I can't fit him into my formation. So I'm just going to bin him. So that then makes people think, well, hang on, this player's not very good if Pep's not picking him. There is a talent there. It just needs nurturing. And I think De Zerbi can nurture his talent. You look at Matthias Tell, how well he's played in pre-season. You look at other players as well that have really gone on to another level under De Zerbi, and he can do that for you. Yeah. And I just feel under De Zerbi, I think Savinho really shows what he's all about. You are right. Steve's right, and you are both right when you say he is going to have purple patches. But I think the purple patches are going to be more and more than not the purple patches. And, I'm really excited about this kid. I think he really can solve a lot of problems. And, again, he's Premier League proven. He knows what the Premier League is about. If you're bought from Europe, then you'd be waiting for him to adapt to the Premier League, waiting him to adapt to London life. He's only moved from Manchester to London. There's not much difference between the two cities. So, and he's used to the Premier League. This kid's going to fly. And I'm really confident of that. And I can't wait to see him get going. And you know what? And prove a lot of people wrong. And I hope he does.
Fair. Well, there you are. That's everyone's opinions on Savinho. We'll get a few from the comments, and then we'll crack on and talk about Mickey van de Ven being named as the new Tottenham captain, even though it was rumored to be James Maddison. Does that highlight that maybe James Maddison is not going to be fit for the opening part of this season? Interesting to see. But let's welcome in a few more. We've got Sully. Good afternoon, lads. New season, new hope. Let's get the season rocking. Come on, you Spurs. We're going to rock onto Tottenham Avenue. We're going to take it higher. Let's go, Sully. We've also
I
got
can
Neil
see top of
Shafton.
the pops for you, Dave, going forward. You and Jack doing the duo, a bit like Diamond Lights back in the day with Huddle and Waddle. I can see it happening.
Oh, I've got a Matisse Tell banger in my back pocket
Yeah.
if he scores today. It's an absolute banger. I've been working on it. This week I'm going to work on songs. Neil Shafton says, who opens up Spurs goal account today for proposition bets? We're just going to get one word answer off everybody on the panel. For me, Richie. Prue. Jack.
I'm going to go and tell. Go and tell. It's going to be him. Tell it to my... I don't want to spoil it, Dave. I'm not going to spoil it. I believe it. I believe in him. I believe in Tell.
I've already got it looped in Jack's head. Martin?
Tonali Screamer, outside of the box.
Ooh.
Love it. Stevie?
Oh, it's got to be Richie, man. This is prime for a Richie special. This Richie special. He'll open up the season with a double today, right? That's what he always does. Let's go, Richie.
Dharma?
I'm going to go completely against all of you. I'm going for an Archie Gray. First game with Spurs captain, I'm going for him to score today.
A belter from right back from Archie Gray. I love that. Well, there you are. Neil Shafton, we've got Dark Sung G. Good to see you in the building, sir. Really appreciate the support. Great way to get involved with the show.
Thanks to Senesi, we can save Van de Ven until he is 100%.
Fit, basically.
Yeah.
Look, I think that's been one of the big problems with Van de Ven over the last few years, right, Jack? We've sort of just thrown him straight back in as soon as he's, like, walking.
I mean, you had the tennis player in Dragishin that would have to fill in. You had Ben Davis as the backups for Van de Ven in the past. Spurs have never had great depth in the center back positions in terms of quality guys that can come into the team. Senesi is an unbelievable player to have rotating with Van de Ven. I mean, arguably, Dave and I said, maybe one of the best passers in the Premier League next to Romero last season for the most part. I mean, he's like a midfielder that was turned into a center back, and he's almost maybe jealous of the midfielders, which is why he even tries to go for the passes that he does. But I will say that Danzo is maybe even an indictment of the fact that Spurs have the fact that I love Danzo so much speaks to the fact that Spurs for such a long time, Darks and G, have never had quality guys to come into the team. And Danzo, we could say, is arguably just sort of your typical standard rotational center back. He's never going to be able to be a guaranteed first team starter, but Spurs pretty much my whole lifetime have never had great center backs to be able to fill in for the regular starting ones.
And he was free. It's even better when they're free, Dark Song G. But, you enjoy it even more. Look, I really like Senesi, so, but we've got that option right across the back line. Even with Destiny Udogie, we can give the guy time to get back to full fitness, Dark Song G, and not just throw him in like what we done off the back of his operation that season. So really appreciate the support, Dark Song G, and also
just AK Shags agreeing with you there. Appreciate it, Dark Sung G.
He's agreeing with you on that one, Dark Sung G. And we've got Daniel Larson, member for 52 months. Really appreciate the support, Daniel. Hopefully we get a win today. Good to see you, sir. Says my prediction for the season: 5th place, quarter in the Carabao Cup, win the FA Cup, Tonali player of the season, Tell Young player of the season. Come on, you Spurs. I think that's more or less what I put. Bar, I think I put us down for a 3rd place finish, but I think I've done all them other predictions as well, Daniel Larson. So hopefully we can get them right, my man. Big up, Daniel. Good to see you in the building. We are approaching the halfway mark. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Please, can you do these little things for us? Really goes a long way. Please smashing the like button if you're on your mobile phone, hyping the stream as well. Really goes a long way to helping us fight that algorithm. It really is a David versus Goliath battle. My name is David. I like to win, so please help me. Also, if you want to just show support for everything that we do around here, these pre-games, watch-alongs and all that sort of jazz, you could do that in multiple ways. Grab yourself a membership, gift one out if you're in the mood, or why not do what Dark Sung G has done? Send in a super chat with your thoughts, your feelings, or whatever else you want discussed ahead of today's game, and we will honor that discussion. But look, let's also keep it moving. I just want to welcome a few more people in. We do have Andrew Burnett in the house. Good to see you, my man. AK Shags. Scotty Hynam is with us as well. Stevie Fraser. Good to see you. Who else have we got? We've got Moore's in the house. Says, Dave, you're overlooking the fact that although Aaron Lennon often lacked end product, his presence on the pitch pushed the opposition back 10 yards as they were petrified of his pace. That's an absolute fair point.
Dave's a big Aaron Lennon fan.
Yeah, I'm a massive Aaron Lennon fan. Hopefully, it's the same with Savino when he comes in here, my man. Who else have we got? Adrian Chia, good to see you. We have a Samaritan in the house. Good to see you as well. We've got Ange Ball in the house. Big up, lads. Good to see you, sir. We've also got Dan Clark in the building. Good to see you, Dan. Afternoon, Dave and Jack. Here we go again on the Savino sign. I'm not sure he's an improvement on Kudus. Seems like an expensive option to cover Kulu and Kudus. However, must have something. But you know what? We need all. Bring them all in. We need as much cover and as many options as we can get. The last few years, we've been absolutely starved. So this year, it'd be nice just to turn around to the bench, 70 minutes and go, Jack, looking at them 4 forward names that we have, that are all quality, by the way, which one would you like to enter the fray here today, depending on what the game needs. So there'll be the conversations hopefully we will be having moving forward. And then we've got Breezy Gas, member for 10 months. Really appreciate the support. Come on, you Spurs. Richie Brace incoming. I do have a sneaky feeling for Richarlison today. I will not lie. I have a sneaky feeling that Richarlison might just put Spurs fans into pure jubilation at some point this afternoon. Big up, Breezy Gas. Go and stick a fiver on that, my man. But look, let's keep it moving. Big up Steve D as well. And DYT thinking you can sneak in there without me noticing. I notice. And we've also got Paul Van in the house. Great to see you. We have Kate and Jimbo. We also have Lokman in here as well. Good to see you. All you guys think you can just sneak in and I won't see you. And I do. Big up, Curty. Good to see you, my man. Let's have a conversation around Mickey van de Ven. Following Christian Romero's move to Atletico Madrid, Roberto De Zerbi has officially named 25-year-old Mickey van de Ven as the new Tottenham club captain, leading a massive 5-man leadership group that also includes Pedro Porro, the World Cup winner, Ben Davies, the librarian, James Madison, the injured man, and also young Archie Gray, Dermot's new boyfriend. Given Van de Ven's massive role in our new defence and his recent long-term contract commitment, is he the right choice to lead this new era under Roberto De Zerbi, Jack?
Personally, Van de Ven was not at the top of my list. I think part of it, maybe similar to Romero, was the incentive of becoming sort of the face of the back line, getting that big new bumper contract. You'll then, if you back yourself, if you want to be the captain, then you'll say, listen, part of maybe the negotiations is I want to be part of this leadership group. If I'm going to be here for the next 4 or 5 seasons, if I'm going to be the star man in the back line, I want also the leadership role. So at the end of the day, he wanted it. It's not like it was just given to him against his will or anything like that. I kind of agree with Dave's skepticism of the fact that, I mean, this was a guy that only a couple of months ago pretty much was the first man on the list that you would have said wanted to leave this club and didn't really seem to have any love for the situation we were in or, maybe attachment to the club. In fact, there were the rumors that if we were to believe them, because everyone believed every single rumor about Christian Romero. So if we're going to apply the same logic to Mickey van de Ven, the rumor was that he was one of the guys that was saying, oh, I don't actually care about what's happening right now. I'm going to be out of here no matter what, essentially. So I'm not totally against him being the captain, but I agree with Dave's logic that he said where this was a guy that had pretty much a fight with a fan over just saying something to him, similar to Ange Postecoglou, kind of losing his rag over one person, calling him out, which I think speaks to maybe your sensitivity and also maybe just the fact that you are in fact rattled. Like you shouldn't, as a captain or as a player of that sort of level, even as a manager of that sort of level, get rattled by one fan maybe calling you out for something and then going to have a fight with him. I just think it's such a level of unprofessionalism and just clearly sensitivity that shouldn't really be at your sort of level. I don't know if there was a perfect captain, though, really. I don't know if there was anybody that really stuck out that was going to be an obvious choice. For me, it kind of was Madison, but then with Madison, you can make the cases of, is he really the right sort of guy that you want leading this club? He's kind of has the Jack Grealish vibe of being kind of a nice guy to hang around, nice guy to sort of be your friend, but is he really the person that can tell you how it is? Is he really the Roy Keane type that can basically get everybody locked in together at halftime in case things aren't going well? I think it was always never going to be an easy choice. But what I will say, I agree with every point you made about Van de Ven, Dave, but maybe at the end of the day, he wanted it. It's not like it was forced to him or anything like that. He clearly asked for it. So maybe he's on some sort of type of redemption arc to a degree.
Yeah. Maybe, and it's interesting that you say, sort of maybe it's been promised to him with signing, or maybe he's demanded it with the signing of the new contract and stuff. Look, where I stand on Mickey Van der Ven. First of all, I want to say this: I absolutely love Mickey Van der Ven as a player on the football pitch. I absolutely love him, but people were pissed off, rightly so, when Ange sort of cupped his ear to them away against Chelsea. People's been pissed off with Christian Romero, who hasn't argued with a fan, by the way, but went out to Argentina towards the end of last season, which is also unacceptable. You can't then just overlook Mickey Van der Ven offering a fan out for a fight. You can't. I don't even understand why Porro's in the captaincy group, to be brutally honest with you. He's another one. He was blaming fans, last season and stuff, for what was going on to try and defend managers and stuff like that. I'm not having it. I'm just not having it. You can't set a standard of what's acceptable or what's not acceptable and then just brush it under the carpet when it comes to certain individuals. That's what you call favoritism. I'm not about that. Look, what I will say in Mickey Van der Ven's defense is he's young. Everyone's made stupid mistakes when they're young. Everyone's got hot-headed when they're young. But this guy needs to understand moving forward, because there's no point in me bitching him on about it because he's club captain now. But this guy needs to understand moving forward. As a captain, you are expected to listen to the fans, hear what they have to say. A lot of it is going to be unproductive coming from the stands, but then don't go over and engage with them when you're selling points all the time and losing games and stuff like that. But you need to understand, as club captain, your role is to overlook that, be the bigger person, bring people together, not divide the fan base, not pick on people in the fan base. Your job is to bring people together to fight for one cause, and hopefully this kid understands that moving forward. So open up to the rest of you guys. Where are you at with Mickey Van der Ven as captain? And also, some of the other names mentioned, young Archie Gray in there.
I mean, look, I get your point of Mickey Van der Ven, right? And I understand, and Porro as well, because I was very vocal about Porro last season. Him coming out and blaming the fans. And Mickey Van der Ven, somebody said it in the chat, and I sort of agree with them. I don't know who said it, but how many people have had a go at him? Was that the one that broke the straw, that broke the camel's back with Van der Ven? Because he doesn't seem that type of character. He doesn't seem that type of person.
You're a professional footballer. That. Be professional.
Yeah, but Dave, if you're playing and you're not,
I don't understand if you're playing some of the league, Dermot.
No, hang on.
The title is in the word professional.
Yeah, but how many players have snapped when fans week in, week out abuse you? Right? You're a human being at the day. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have done it. And I agree with you with that. And Porro as well. But I just think, look, last season was last season. We've got to leave it there. At some point, we've got to move on from it. We can't keep going back and saying, oh, we did that. We can't keep going back, oh, look, if it hadn't sold Harry Kane. We've got to leave somewhere the past in the past. It's a new season. It's a new broom. He's got the captaincy. As Jack said, he probably wanted it, or with Archie Gray, just very quickly, with Archie Gray, I have stuck up for Archie Gray quite a lot, and I've got a lot of abuse from fans that think he didn't play well, or he's not good enough. That kid played when he was injured, stayed on the pitch. So did Bergville as well. Xavi wanted to come back on against Wolves with an ACL. Kingsley got absolutely abused when he made the mistakes and Atletico Madrid. And if it wasn't for his save at Wolves, Leeds, Everton, Tottenham could have gone down, but we didn't. I think this season we've got to start with a clean slate with everyone. Look, we can't keep going back to what they did last season. Yes, people will, but you can't. And my view is I'm not going to. Last season was last season. We're still in the Premier League. Everyone starts with a clean slate. Do I agree with the whole captaincy? No, Ben Davies should not be the captain, nor James Maddison. I would have given it to Robinson and Tonali. I would have put them in there. They're leaders. They have led other clubs. They know what it's about. But I'm going to get behind the team 100%, get behind the players 100%, and start it from afresh. It's a new era. It's a new time for Tottenham Hotspur. What's gone in the past is in the past. Can we forgive? Probably it's going to take us a little while to forgive some of these players. Or forget, but we've got to start as we mean to go on. Now, it's just how I feel.
I do what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying about leaving the past in the past, but how do you ever expect to be better? The past is there for a reason. You've got to learn from your mistakes and move forward. That's how you become better. You can't just ignore what's happened. And it's the same when it comes to Mickey van de Ven. I hope he realizes you can't, you as a professional footballer, everyone's going to have their opinion. You turn on the sports TV channels, people are having their opinion. You go on social media, people are having their opinion. You go into the stadium, people are having their opinion on you. You have to accept that. What you can't do if you want to be club captain is bite back. Sometimes you have to be bigger than that. Your job is to bring everybody together. And that's the only point I'm trying to make. I'm not going to sit here and moan about he's captain moving forward. De Zerbi's picked him. I'll get behind it. But I'm just, that's my piece on it. Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, see, I agree with what you're saying. I can see Dermot's point. But last year did happen. It's too soon to just forget it. But what the players, I've got a big soft spot for Mickey. I've made that clear on here before. But you can't ignore the fans' frustration directed at them was not because they were playing fantastic and they were challenging for the league and they were just being picked on. There was a reason why the frustration, and there might have been frustration inside there in the team with the manager and all, but they're all human beings. But the fans are paying fans and the footballers are professional footballers. And I'm sure you could easily just bite your lip and walk away and, do it a different way. So, Dave's right in what he's saying. And it's not easy going to forget it. But I can see Dermot's point where he wants a clean slate and we'll move forward. And it is pretty much new manager, new signings, new beginning. We all want that to happen. But at the same time, last year really did upset fans, players, everyone connected with the club. So there's PTSD from that, and we can't just ignore it. But as far as the captaincy, see, go back in, back in the old days, my day, captains meant something. We didn't have a leadership group or, like five people. That's half the team. But what De Zerbi's saying is he wants leaders in every position, every doing. So I don't quite see the substitute captains 5 removed. Do you know what I mean? For me, it's crazy. I think you should have one captain and a vice captain at most. But that's me coming from the old school days of how I think it should be. A leadership team should be everyone on that pitch. They should all be fighting for each other and pulling each other up. No, you get in that position. You do there. You move forward. They should all be working cohesively, and they've got to be able to take a bit of a bollocking off someone, and not just because he wears an armband. Someone's got to have the armband. Have we got an outstanding candidate? No, not really. Yeah. Can you see the sense in where he's gone to Van de Ven? He bigged him up all last year, saying he's the best left-sided centre-back. Has he had a chat with him? And I said to you on the last show we done in the midweek one, that if he's got a lot of turning around to do with the fans, and if this is the way to do it, the first thing he has to do is sign that contract and give his commitment. Because we all doubt his commitment, which has all blurred our thinking of what he does. Because everyone else was getting bumper contracts and he's sitting on 50 grand a week, which some of the kids in the under 21s are probably getting. Do you know what I mean? And it was a worry why he ain't doing it. And if he would have left last year without the De Zerbi factor, no one would have been surprised because of everything that happened. But he's here, he's signed, he's captain. Let's hope he grows from it. And every bad lesson he learnt last year, he has learnt from it, and he moves forward, and he galvanises the fans together rather than ostracises himself from them.
Of course, look, and I'm the biggest person. Everyone makes mistakes. There's always room to grow and bounce back, and I'll give Mickey van de Ven every opportunity. It's not like he killed someone at the end of the day, you know what I mean? But look, Stevie, just so we don't beat this conversation to death, maybe a different sort of question towards you on this is, it was rumored that James Maddison would be club captain. It was also like Roberto De Zerbi praised Maddison towards the end of last season. How important he was in and around the squad, in and around the club, in and around the training ground, match day, and stuff like that. Why do you think it hasn't gone to Maddison then all of a sudden? Do you just think it's ITK's making stuff up and they've got this one wrong? Or do you think it was a case that Maddison was due to be club captain, but because of his fitness and stuff like that, maybe De Zerbi's gone with an option that is going to be on the pitch a lot more regularly this season?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think, yeah, fitness might be a part of it, but I don't think that's the entire story, right? It's, one of the true signs of a captain is being able to stay calm, cool, and collected when times are actually going rough on the pitch, right? When you're dealing with a ref that is considerably not calling the game straight, you have to be able to get into the face of that ref and make sure that this horseshit isn't going to stand. And at the same time, being able to put an arm around your teammate that committed the foul and keep them engaged. But it's also being able to be held accountable. One of the biggest issues with James Maddison, at least in my opinion, is the last time we saw him, consistency wasn't exactly his strong suit. He would have very good games and following it up with bad games, and there always seemed to be an excuse, coming from James Maddison, right? And that's the one thing that a captain can absolutely not do, is make excuses for his play. He has to be the first one to stand up in front of the cameras and say, you know what, it just wasn't good enough for me today, and it is what it is. And I think that is probably the biggest reason where maybe he feels like Van de Ven might be a little bit better suited for the captaincy. But that being said, everything you guys have highlighted is 100% accurate. There is a little skepticism when it comes to VDV and whether or not he's absolutely grown from some of the mistakes, and whether or not he actually has the ability to be the first one to get up in a referee's face and lay down a marker and say, hey, listen, you're not going to do this, or you're going to have problems from our side today. So either call it right, or you're going to have to deal with us, right? And so from that standpoint, I think, as far as I'm concerned, that was one of the biggest reasons why I was kind of a little skeptical on James Maddison as well too. I think the guy, for me at least, and maybe I'm a little bit of a happy clapper when it comes to this player, but I think the one guy on this roster that kind of exudes captaincy is Kulusevski. I think he's universally loved and respected, not only by the club, but also by the fans. And I also think when it comes to consistency on the pitch and being able to keep a level head, I think he kind of checks all the boxes. But again, health-wise, we have no idea when he's coming back. So you can understand why he probably wasn't even considered. But, I will say that, for me, if Maddison, comes back and he's able to regain his form and show a level of consistency, I think we can kind of circle back to that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely fair. Well, look, let's keep it moving. Let's talk about positions in the lineup today. Let's start with goalkeeper. And start with you on this one, Martin. Anthony Kinski has officially been trusted as Tottenham's number one this season. He was superb in those final 7 games to help keep us up, like Dermot said. But is he truly ready for the relentless responsibility of a full Premier League season as first choice? Because it is different coming in for a 7-game period. And look, I'm not knocking it. It was a 7-game period under immense pressure, knowing any mistake can send you down. It's a very uncomfortable position to be put in, especially after what happened against Atletico. And fair play to the kid. He's rose to the challenge. But coming in, doing it game in, game out at the Premier League level, week in, week out, do you think he's ready?
Well, I said to you last season, I don't see him as that number one. And that was before that period. And, in context with the athletic game, that's a massive thing to overcome personally, let alone professionally, because the media, the fans, other people in the football fraternity looking at him, and he rose above that. And then he only got into the side because of Vicario's injury. But he'd done his job. And he was as much part of us staying up as the goal scorers were of saving us. But there's only one way to find out, and that is give him his chance,
Yeah.
We ain't going to know, right? That 7-game period, I think after 7 games in a normal scenario, if a normal goalkeeper was injured, he'd come in. After 7 games, there's a decent, period there to look at and see what he did. But I think the pressure cauldron that we were under there, for him to perform like that, did he just perform out of his skin and he rose to that task in that situation? Time will tell, and we will know. Let's give him till Christmas. We will know. We've signed the Bravka. All right, if something happens to Kinski, if he gets a red card or a small knock, I think Dubravka can come in for a game or two. We'll be all right. But as a long-term plan, no. So, you know, De Zerbi has rolled the dice for this one and he has put his faith into him. And let's hope he's seen enough of him and the goalkeeping staff that, you know, feel that he is the one. And but the only answer to your question, Dave, is time will tell. He outperformed himself last year, but I hope that he didn't outperform himself and that is his standard. And then we might be all right.
Hopefully. Let's take a couple of comments from the chat, see what they're saying. Leshan is saying, in Kinski we trust. Wayne Bonner says Kinski absolutely has the mindset to cope with being number one choice. He could have crumbled after the Atletico game, but he manned up and stepped up. We've got Eugene says Kinski is our number 31. Interesting that he chose not to take the number one there, actually. And then we've got Ghost LDN says this half a season is Kinski's chance to cement himself as a number one without running games. We'll never know if he's good enough. I mean, Stevie, am I correct in saying you were a big backer of Kinski last year, even after the Atletico game? You sort of stuck by him. Am I correct?
Oh, come on, Dave! Don't be coy, man. You know I've been a big Tony Kinski fan since the moment he stepped into his club, and a lot of this has to do with his time at Slavia Prague. I saw him play in European competition, and you see the tools, and you see the high ceiling of what you can envision in 5 years, and the dude has all the tools. One thing he just didn't have was that experience. And you know, when you guys remember when he first came in and he was thrown to the fire, and you can see a little bit of that raw inexperience come through on the pitch. And then even last year, me personally, I think it was just an absolute terrible decision, to give him that random start against Atletico in that situation on the road. And me personally, I didn't necessarily think it was great. But one of the things that I will say is you look at the mentality this kid has, and he didn't allow that to affect his game. As a matter of fact, I think you were the one that said it last year that those type of situations have a tendency to ruin the confidence of young players to the point where we're never going to see him again. And then that being said, not only did he rebound, but he had one of the, as far as recent memories, especially for, essentially a first time starter, he had the rebound of all rebounds and finished the season absolutely fantastic, made some absolutely huge saves. And, he gave the fans a reason to believe in his ability. And so from that standpoint, I think being the number one has been earned. But that being said, with any young player that is getting their first taste at this level, for the first time, it all comes down to consistency, and that falls on the shoulders of Roberto De Zerbi and his goalkeeper coaches to make sure that he's completely locked in. But I think we can all agree when you look at the skill set of a Tony Kinski, he's got all the tools, man. He's got all the tools to be, a long-term keeper for this club and play at an entirely high level. So that's the exciting part. It's the what if that I'm looking forward to this season, because he's going to get the opportunity in some very big games for this team this year. And, me personally, I think he's got it. I think he's got it in spades.
Like, don't get me wrong. I still have some questions around them. I still think it's a huge. I still think it's a bit of a gamble heading into this season. That he sort of continues on that form. However, you're hoping De Zerbi repaying the faith in him and basically saying, look, thank you very much for keeping us up with some of the big saves you pulled off. You're hoping with that sort of fate repaid, it sort of kicks Kinski on a new level, knowing he's got a manager that believes in him when he's putting him out there. A manager that has basically made the decision, you're my guy. And you're hoping that Kinski can sort of repay that, because sometimes all you need is that one guy to put belief in you that maybe you didn't have in yourself or you have lost, and all of a sudden you kick on. You remember what you were, you remember your ability, and all of a sudden you're so tuned in, you end up taking things in and improving and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that is the case with Kinski. Look, make no mistake about it. The real reason why De Zerbi went with Kinski in the first place was his ability to be able to play out from the back with the calmness,
correct?
With the ball at his feet, which Vicario had lost. But since then, one of my big questions around Kinski was the shot stopping. The last 7 games of the season, and even in preseason, it's been pretty good. It looks like he's improved in that area, and hopefully he can continue to improve.
I just asked a quick question, Dave.
Yeah.
Just quick one. Do any of you here feel safer that he's in goal than Vicario? Do you have as much panic when the ball goes to the back? I don't. I'll give him that. I'm not as worried when the ball goes back.
Do you know what? Look, the two of them used to make me nervous with the ball at the feet. There was a time when Kinski also made a couple of mistakes, but like, you know, it is clear that Kinski is just a lot more confident and has a better passing range than Vicario. You know, he's better in the air from set pieces and coming and claiming things than Vicario. Look, it got to the point I lost all faith in Vicario. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't think it's all Vicario's fault. He's a guy that was rushed back after breaking his ankle and another couple of injuries, never given a chance to properly heal them, playing half injured, playing with his hernia problem last year, which meant he couldn't dive properly to one side and stuff like that. But the reality is there was too many flaws when he was healthy in his game that he didn't improve on, that we needed to try something different. And, you know, Kinski stepped up. So fair play to him. And like I said, I hope it continues. But Dermo, why do you think he didn't take number 1 and he's sticking to number 31? I find that an interesting choice. Do you feel like if he's going out with number 1 on his back, that maybe psychologically it's adding more pressure that he could do without?
I don't think so. I think he just prefers 31. I mean, players do have options to change to when you join a new club to take a new number. No, I prefer my number. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Formula One. Lewis Hamilton was winning world champions, never had the number 1 in his car because he preferred 44. So maybe just Kinski prefers 31. That's the number he's had, and he wants to continue with that. I do want to say something to what Martin said. I am the same as you, Martin. I have no problem with Kinski and goal when the ball goes to him because he commands his area. He's very good on the ball. One thing about Vicario was he was very good and never taking responsibility. You look at the Fulham goal that he conceded.
But that's the panic and the deflection, and it just doesn't sit right with anyone, does it?
And he went there, and the first thing he did, instead of putting his hand up and said, sorry, that was my fault, which most keepers would have done, he then started blaming everyone else. It's your fault. It's your fault. Well, hang on. Why were you out there on the side in the first place? Why did you just not kick it into row Z like any number keeper would have done? And then if you do lose it, you run back to the goal. You don't walk back. Don't expect other players to bail you out. And I just feel he never took responsibility for any mistakes. It was always everyone else's fault, bar himself. And with Kinski, even if he does make a mistake, he's the first one to say, it's my fault. If you look at the Atletico Madrid game, he said, look, I made a mistake. And I watched the video Tottenham put out on Kinski, and they showed him going over the Atletico game or the Sunderland game. And the amount of work he goes through, debrief he goes through. Why did you not go for that ball? Well, because of that. Well, if you've done that, he's learning. He's a young keeper, but I think he's going to be exceptional. And I think he's right to be back to number 1. And am I right, Dave and Jack, that De Zerbi, when he first came in, I think this is on video somewhere, that De Zerbi wanted to make him captain for the Sunderland game to show him that how much faith he had in him. There is a video going around.
I think you're going over the phrase now. I was with you. You've lost me now.
No, seriously, there is a video going around for the Sunderland game that he wanted to make him captain, just to show how much faith he had in him to prove
someone in the chat will definitely confirm
that you are a very good goalkeeper. One game doesn't define you. One game doesn't define you as a player. It's how you come back from that and how you prove.
I think in this instance it has defined him. I think
I think it has.
Made the man of
I would agree.
You know what I mean? It's not. He could have easily just gone under and just gone. No, I'm out of here. You know, I whatever we think, whether he's ready or not, you have to give him massive respect for coming back from that.
And I think it's fair.
That was in a Champions League theatre. It wasn't a Carabao Cup game. This is Madrid against Tottenham. You know, it was on telly around the world, you know. He was thrown in at the deep end and he was pulled out very quickly. And, you know.
What I will say about Kinski is, yes, the actual mistakes on the pitch are his fault, but Atletico that night isn't entirely his fault. Like, if you look at Arsenal, the way they flagged up the pitch when they went out there, you know, got UEFA involved, the referee involved and stuff like that. You know, there are things that we should be doing. We should have known that it was too risky to attempt that and just told them go long, just hit it long and sort of vacated for that, you know. So there wasn't enough behind the scenes prep work going into that game in the first place. There's examples of Barcelona trying to play it that way on the pitch and stuff. So, you know, it's not all on Kinski. There's others that, you know, behind the scenes do play a role.
The spotlight was on Kinski though, wasn't it? If you,
you're
rational, you can feel that, but it was. it was the focus was on him. It was him.
Oh, yeah,
Unfairly.
100%.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah.
on the pitch, it's on him. But like I said, we do need to do more due diligence behind the scenes sometimes. But Jack, to bring you in, I don't want to bring you in on Kinski because I think everyone sort of understands where you're at with Kinski and your opinions on Anthony and Kinski. We've sort of, hashed it out over the summer and that. I want to ask you about the Bravke. In a world where Kinski doesn't kick on and, he becomes fragile again and stuff like that and he's making mistakes and we have to bring Dubravka in because it's happened. We had to, Hugo Lloris quit halfway during the season, wasn't able anymore, had to bring someone in and stuff like that. When Vicario got injured, we had to got Fraser Forster in and he wasn't good enough. Dubravka's 36, 37. Is he a guy we can rely on to get us out of a hole this season if we have to rely on him?
I mean, he's shown it recently that he can be a reliable goalkeeper for Leeds. Like, he's shown that he can be a guy that can step in, even at Newcastle, to be fair. I actually thought he wasn't actually terrible. I think he even had at one stage, like, a really good game against us, actually quite recently, and keeping goals out. I could understand if someone did have a bit of skepticism there, because we did make a similar gamble with Fraser Forster, where we're like, oh, well, he just did all right with Southampton just recently. Like, surely he's got a season or two left in him. And then we saw that he looked like a pub goalkeeper for the most part, especially if you're trying to play good football, trying to play out from the back, trying to be a bit more advanced in your play style. I think it can be a little bit of a risk. I'm not too concerned with Dubravka. And I also do find that it's one or the other with your backup goalkeeper. Either he's someone that's super young that you're trying to develop behind the scenes, like maybe Kelleher had, done with Liverpool, but we all knew at the time he was still very young. You look at also Trafford, like that was the backup goalkeeper for Man City, exceptionally young. Or you go with a really experienced one, someone that can theoretically step in, that's been there, done that, can be a reliable set of hands for whatever amount of time. I just think you're never going to have an equal number two. We even saw at Arsenal, it never worked. They tried to do Raya and Ramsdale at the same time. Ramsdale eventually left. He just wasn't satisfied with that type of role. So I think you ultimately, as your backup goalkeeper, he's not going to be a sure set of hands type of player. You're going to have to find out and see whether it was the worthwhile risk. So that's what I'll say on Dubravka, to be honest, Dave. Is I think it's probably a better gamble than we did with Fraser Forster, but it's never going to be an obvious choice, to be perfectly honest. I mean, maybe part of it had to do with the fact that, one's Czech, the other one's Slovakian. They both get along with each other, so there isn't going to be any drama with each other in that regard. I just think part of it was maybe also just they knew that Dubravka might be also a good person around the dressing room too.
Yeah. Well, what I will say as well is, he's off the back of completing a full season for Burnley in goals as well. So you're hoping he is ready to come in. But look, let's keep
been
it
around
moving.
the Premier League long enough, isn't he, to fit in for a few games. But
yeah,
I think that's about it for us. It can't be number one.
Well, hopefully we don't have to rely on him. Hopefully Kinski is the answer to our prayers. But look, let's keep it moving. I think at centre back today, with Mickey van de Ven not playing anything in pre-season, I think De Zerbi said he didn't know whether he picked up the flight and not on the flight to Australia or in Australia, which shows again he didn't want to be there whatsoever. He will not be starting today, no club captain today, which means it will be probably new signings Jean-Paul Van Hecke and Marcus Senesi, who were paired together in the 3-0 win over Hoffenheim last Saturday and played 81 minutes together. Be interested to see how they get on today. Of course, 2 new signings expecting to make their debut. But I want to move over to right back and just have maybe a quick conversation on right back. So I'll ask 2 years about right back and I'll ask another 2 about left back, because I want to be conscious that we get through all my questions today, because I did put in a lot of effort to make these. So we're going to start with right back. Dermo, we're going to bring you in because, it has emerged this summer out of nowhere. You are now Archie Gray's biggest fan. I'm glad you found a new favourite player in the squad. Roberto De Zerbi openly acknowledged that Archie Gray prefers playing in midfield, yet the club is explicitly relying on him as the primary backup at right back option heading into this season. My question for you, Darmo, is, and by the way, with no Porro today, Ben Davies is hardly going to play, no Madison, and also no Mickey van de Ven. It probably means Archie Gray might actually captain the side out here away at Brentford today. But Dermot, I guess the question I have for you is, for a young player developing, Does constantly shifting between roles to cover squad gaps risk his growth as a midfielder, or will his tactical versatility ultimately make him a more complete player under De Zerbi and moving forward in his career?
It would make him better going forward in his career. I mean, I can go back to David Howes, who played in various positions. Steve Sedgley played in various positions in their time. Archie Gray, for me, is not. He's a young player, but he's an experienced player. He played a lot of games for Leeds. He comes from good stock at Leeds as well, from the Gray family, the Gray dynasty up at Leeds. And I just think Archie Gray today has proven to be a very good, versatile player, that he plays well at right back. He plays well in the middle. He can play centre back as well if you need to. And you need these type of players for any sort of scenario that comes up in the game. You've got a player sent off, right? Who can move into the right back position? If a player comes off injured and you haven't got cover on the bench, well, who can play in that position? Archie Gray can. And Archie Gray, for me, it's a player that does divide a lot of in the fan base, but I'm sick to death of the hate this kid gets. I am sick to death of it, because a lot of fans are quite easy to hit on our youngsters instead of blaming the senior players that should be there taking responsibility, should be there playing at the very best because they're senior players. And us as fans, okay, well, we're not going to blame Mickey van der Ven. I'm not saying you two, but I'm just saying other people. We're not going to blame Mickey van der Ven, but we're gonna blame Archie Gray and all the shit he got for winning Player of the Year of the last year from Tottenham Hotspur. It was unacceptable. And this is the way when De Zerbi said he is a future captain. He is a future captain. He's a future captain of the squad. He's going to be a big name player for this team going forward. And having that versatility in his bank is going to make him absolutely essential to Tottenham moving forward. And wherever he does move, because wherever he goes on his career, he got a player there, can play in the right back, can play centre back, can play in the midfield. And I think to a manager, that's a dream. And you've got to do it in today's game. You've got to be versatile, I think, in today's Premier League. So everyone needs to get off Archie Gray's back, give the kid a bit of credit. And, and he's not just a young kid developing. He's an experienced Premier League player who's playing at the very top, who's done well for us last season. He did well for us the season before. And before people start slagging him off, he's captain today. And, and long may it continue. And just one more thing. We need to support our young players. The likes of Bergveld, the likes of Archie Gray, the likes of Mikey Moore. Dave, you're a big supporter of the youngsters coming through. We can't keep bashing them all the time. It's got to stop. If a senior player does something wrong, do we bash him? No, we don't. We give him a pass. Not you, Dave.
You bash Romero every time he's done something wrong. He's a senior player.
But I'm just saying...
People do bash.
Yeah, but not everyone. But everyone jumped on Archie Gray's back. He's not good enough. He shouldn't be captain. I'm sorry. Why not? Tony Adams was 19 or 20 when he was captain. So, he's good enough. And I think his versatility, will prove evidence for him moving forward in his career.
I admire the strong stance, for Archie Gray, but I think there's a fine line between people bashing someone and people questioning, is he good enough to be in the team week in, week out? Which I think is what most people do. At the end of the day, him, Bergvall, Sarr, they've all had their opportunities. We finished 17th. They had a lot of opportunities due to injuries. It proves they're not good enough yet. At the end of the day, but look, I mean, Jack. Actually, no. I'll save the left side for you, Jack. Stevie. Are you happy with the decision not to go and sign another right back, that Archie Gray is going to be the deputy right back after selling Jet Spence? Are you
I think I am okay, because it's only going to be for a short period of time. And I think this is where Spurs fans need to pump the brakes a little bit, because once Pedro Porro comes back into the squad, he's going to be playing 95, 96, 97% of the time, really, where, the only time you're going to see rotation is if, Pedro Porro is to that point where he's hit the red line, right? And so you're just going to give him a cheeky day off, possibly in the Carabao Cup, whatever the case may be. And so, the idea that, Archie Gray is going to, play a lot at that position, I think that's maybe a little bit overblown, to the point where I think come January, I think we'll probably address that backup right back position, for the long term. And so from that standpoint, I don't necessarily have a problem with this, because I just don't see this as being something where Archie Gray is going to get a tremendous amount of minutes. at that position. So for the most part, he's still going to be able to develop at his natural position. But I also think that this is also going to help him as a midfield as well too, because you actually have that you also have that experience in another defensive position where there's going to be some skill set that's going to be able to carry over. So I actually think it's going to be a bonus for a guy like Archie Gray. But overall, I think this is much ado about nothing, just considering that we have a guy who is essentially an Ironman that's going to be manning that position more or less for a good, 98% of the season. So it just is what it is.
Fair. What I will say is with Archie Gray, I do think eventually he needs to be developed in one position. I look at players where you look at Gallagher, people go, he could play a 10 and an 8. But that's why whenever he's gone to big clubs, he's been on the bench because he's not a specialist in one position. Ben Davies can play left back and left-sided centre-back. That's why he's always on the bench when we have better options available, because he's not a specialist in one position. I don't think it actually helps Archie Gray, to be brutally honest with you. And I don't think it's going to help him long term. I do think at some point we need to develop him, pick a position, and that's where we develop the guy in. But look, moving over to left back, Jack, we are set to see Andy Robertson make his competitive debut today. Are you excited to see what he brings? Like, it's of my opinion, he sort of brings a new attacking dimension, down that left-hand side. He's better at crossing the ball than Destiny Udogie. He's better at passing the ball than Destiny Udogie, which means you'll be able to see us attack quickly and swiftly down that left-hand side compared to when Jed Spence was there, always moving the ball inside. And you're hoping we're going to see a lot more out of Matisse Towell because of that. Does that make Andy Robertson our number one, even if Destiny Udogie is back fit? 1 second. The missus is staring.
No, that's
my
a
head
great question. Dermot,
I need to see what she wants.
Dermot, do we need to let you go? You're on mute
Yeah,
there, I
I'm
believe.
about to start my show in about 10 minutes. So yeah, I did tell Dave I was going to pop off in about an hour or so. So thanks for having me on, and hope you guys have a great watch along, and I'll see you guys very soon.
All right, defend Archie Gray's name over there. Big up, Dermotron. Everybody subscribe over to THFC till we die.
Yeah, I'm only 89 away from 3K, so I'm really close to 3K. So I'd love to get there for the end of the window if you can. I'll be really grateful, but do it here first. And to Steve's channel as well. Get over there and support Steve. Great channel. But big up, guys. Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you later.
Big up, Dermotron. Please, everybody,
See you,
subscribe.
Tron.
The link is there at the top of the chat. Please, everybody, and maybe while we're doing some plugs, please, everybody, subscribe to Steve's channel as well. Stateside Footy. To Dave's great question on the left side. Originally, I was pretty skeptical of the Robertson signing. Felt like more of a backup signing, which I was fine with. But then if he is to be lined up as the regular starter, I do have a little bit of question marks because I think he's always been more amazing crosser of the ball, I will say. Like, still to this day, he looks like a guy that can absolutely whip in a beautiful, hard-hitting, perfectly on the nose type of cross. But I do wonder if he's always been a guy that has maybe relied a little bit on sort of his stamina, his fitness, his athleticism of getting up and down. One of the classic fullbacks of a guy that maybe isn't exceptional at like beating his player with a bit of intricate skill or anything like that, but a guy that was just always quick, always someone that just had that relentless energy of the maybe fullback of the thousands or the 90s sort of era, which I liked about him. But I always wondered with those type of guys, can you really expect them to be able to do the same thing at 31, 32, 33? I think it's one of those positions that you do start to burn out a little bit. I think Udogie, it's going to be big question marks this season, whether he's able to improve on, I think, going forward, because I don't think he's that great going forward, Udogie, but I do find him to be, for the most part, despite maybe some massive mistakes he has made, I do think he can be a good defensive fullback, kind of like a Jed Spence, where he's strong. He's not a guy that you would try to sort of maybe out compete in the physical sense or even when it comes to quickness, but he's had so many injuries at this point that he's starting to bring up Ryan Sessegnon questions in his case. I'm a little bit neutral, I think, on Andy Robertson, Dave, as the starting fullback going into the season. I'm fine with him rotating with Destiny Udogie, but if Destiny Udogie ends up not being fit this season and Andy Robertson's our regular starting fullback for the majority of the season, I find that to be, I don't think it's anyone's fault. I don't think it's the recruitment's fault or anything like that. I think the theory is that Udogie surely can be fit this season, and this is going to be good competition between the two. But if it ends up being the case that Udogie's a Ryan Sessegnon, and then we end up seeing, like to Steve's point, of 98% of the games are Andy Robertson, I would be a little bit concerned because I think Liverpool let him go for a reason. And I think that's probably because he only maybe has 1 or 2 years left at the top level, in my opinion, as a very athletic bombing forward type of fullback. But actually, all due respect to him, because I think he is still a great player. I just don't know if he's a guy that can play. I like Steve's point of like the idea of a fullback pretty much just playing 98% of the games this season. Can we really expect Robertson to be great for 98% of the games? I'm not too
No,
sure.
look.
But I do actually,
we can.
I always liked the signing as an alternative to a Udogie. But if he does end up having to play the whole season, I would be a little bit worried.
I do understand, and I do take your point. Look, none of them Liverpool players are the same or hit the same level since Klopp has left. You know, I do think that the longevity of these players under Klopp and how intense it was has drained a lot out of their legs. 100%, I agree with you. But I think the reason why Robertson will continue to get the nod is because De Zerbi wants to play in possession, and Robertson is a lot better than Destiny Udogie. And I also look at it. I think Destiny Udogie has to rebuild the trust of the manager and the Spurs fans back, due to the, how long he's been out injured, the persistence of injuries, but also, I don't think his game is developed because of that. I remember Chelsea away last year. The amount of times he had easy passes onto Matisse Tell and couldn't complete them. De Zerbi won't put up with that. But where I think Destiny Udogie can rebuild himself and has a massive use is 25 minutes to go, 20 minutes to go, bring him in for Robertson, or if you're up against a team with a flying winger where Robertson can't cope, bring Destiny Udogie in, knowing you're going to have to sacrifice on the left-hand side. But the difference is we're going to have a right-hand side. Hopefully that can produce, so you can get away with that. So it's about having the different pieces of the puzzle. But I fully do understand what you're saying. What we can't get sucked into is playing him 90 minutes, week in, week out, and in the cup games. If we get into that, come the last 15 games of the season, he's going to absolutely crash and he's going to leak goals down that side. I 100% agree with you on that.
Just want to add, though, I do also think he was a great signing for the dressing room because he's a proven winner.
Oh, yeah.
He's a guy, maybe I would say he's like a guy that's probably a nice guy to be around, like James Maddison, funny, enjoyable, good chap. But compared to Maddison, this guy's an actual winner. This guy's done it before. And I think that's also the type of experience maybe that would be good around the dressing room. I like majority parts of the signing. It's maybe more Udogie's fault why I'm a little bit skeptical of Robertson than I really am skeptical of Andy. It's no disrespect to him. It's more disrespect to Udogie, if anything. Great points, Dave.
Yeah, but I think it's by design, though, really. And I think Jack just hit it right on the head, because I don't think that Destiny Udogie is ready for Roberto De Zerbi's system, right? So you bring in a guy like Robertson, and it does give you cover, so Udogie can add strength to his frame, but also get acclimated. So you have that cover for so that he can actually get in, and when he steps in, he's going to be ready to go, and you can kind of take the gas off of Robertson, or B, it gives you enough cover where if it doesn't work, you can still go out there and find a replacement. So that's the reason why I like Robertson. And I do agree that he does probably have a year, possibly two, left in the gas tank, but there is that worry that maybe there's not enough tread left on that tire because of the intensity of him playing for Jurgen Klopp. So I like it. I like Robbo.
Yeah, so do I. I do think he's going to be brilliant around the dressing room. If you look at Liverpool, that's one thing managers, coaches, players have all said about him. He's brilliant in and around the dressing room. But conscious of time. Go on. No, sorry, I am conscious of time. So
I think Martin, you're on mute there, but
I do. Just 1 minute. I do want to kick the conversation on a little bit and move it into Sandro Tonali, the main man of the day. Now, I know people in the chat quickly are asking about the lineup, and it's not out. The lineup that you are seeing is the leaked one from that new source that has come on the scene, and basically he's gone with Kinski in goals, Gray right back, Van Hecke, Senesi centre backs, Robertson at left back, Tonali, Bergvall, and Gallagher as your midfield. Mikey Moore off the right, Tell off the left, and Richarlison through the middle, which is the exact same lineup as the Hoffenheim game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last week. And, that's the one that I think me and Jack sort of predicted we were going to go with today in the members preview. If you happen to catch that, if you didn't, grab yourself a membership. But look, Martin, I do want to move on. I know I'm conscious of time. I know you do want to have your say around fullback. So if you want to get that in quickly, do as well. But I also want to move on and talk about main man Sandro Tonali.
Can't hear you, Martin. I think you're having some mic troubles. It's not connected or anything. Am I right, Dave? Can you hear him? I can't hear him.
No, I can't hear a thing. Oh, there's green bars coming back up again. Now they're gone. Log out and log back in there, Martin.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like you have a mic
Usually a
connection.
reset helps. But look,
Move
I
on to
suppose
Tonali. Yeah.
until Martin comes back in, Jacko, head back to you on Sandro Tonali. I mean, look, Spurs laid out £100 million for him. He's the marquee signing. He's the record signing. I mean, what exactly should Spurs fans be expecting to see from him on the pitch? Because for me, it's like the likes of really dictating games, to be brutally honest with you. You know, everything flows through him. If you're in a time of need and you need a goal or you need someone to step up and be brave and get on the ball, in my opinion, we should be looking for Sandro Tonali. That's why we're paying this money.
I think he's a £100 million midfielder. I think he's
Yeah.
a guy that transforms this midfield. I think he's someone that Spurs of that type of quality have needed for a long time in the midfield. A guy that can essentially do mostly everything. I think people brought up, might have been AK Shags and yourself, Dave, who said he can be that bully in the midfield. He can handle his own. He can be a bit of a warrior in there. Anybody who played in that Newcastle midfield of the last 2-3 seasons, Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Tonali, every single time we looked at that midfield and we're like, all right, people are going to get pushed around. People are going to get bullied in there. But I think with Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, what you knew in their case too was not only can they handle themselves physically, they are exceptional on the ball. They can dictate the tempo. They can absolutely control the midfield. I think he is 100% worth the £100 million that we paid for. So I think that's what you're getting, Dave. You're getting a guy that will transform the way that we play, especially if you are trying to play nice, attractive football. You're trying to dominate teams. You need a guy in that midfield that can essentially do everything. And I think he is one of those. He can ping a pass. He can win a ball back for you. He can lead the press. He can hit a screamer if he need be. He can pop up with a goal. I rate Tonali that much. I mean, you rate him even higher than I probably did originally. But I think this guy, even in my opinion, before we even were rumored with him, I would have said, what would he go for? I would have said, yeah, probably around £100 million easily. I think he is definitely worth that price. And I think we're going to see that. If we haven't already in preseason, I think we're going to see it pretty much straight away with him. He's probably one of these signings. I mean, there are a lot of signings we've made in the past, and I'm like, yeah, no question marks there. But I would say one of the times where we've spent that much money where I'm like, absolutely no question marks whatsoever. This will be a great signing.
Do you know what? He's one I was raging when Newcastle signed him, because he's one that I've been pinging around to you for years, Jack, saying, I wanted Spurs to go after and bring him in. And the main reason why is because I just believe we need that deep lying playmaker, that can get on the ball, has a different array of passing, but most importantly, accuracy. How many times for a number of years now at Tottenham, have we seen midfielders or that, people go to make passes and they can't complete a simple 10-yard pass, or they go to do a difficult pass, a switch of play, and it's gone out into the stands. I've been absolutely fed up with it. It's been torturous to watch, and it's anti-football, to be brutally honest with you. This guy is going to bring the sexy back to White Hart Lane. This guy's going to bring the sexy back to Tottenham, not only with his luscious hair that's going to be galloping around and blowing in the wind, around N17. But every time the boy gets the ball at his feet, magic is just going to happen. Not only can this guy take on players, but he doesn't even need to do that. You press him, he'll skin you. But a lot of the times you come near him, he already knows where he's putting it. He can clip that ball over a player's head into a winger's feet. He can put it over the top for a runner in behind. It's just going to be silky. It's going to be sexy. And not only that, in and around the box as well. How many times have we seen shots, and I'm not going to pull them out here, but I am, Conor Gallagher in preseason ended up in the bushes at Hotspur Way. This guy's actually going to test the goalkeeper, something we haven't been able to do from midfield, for a long, long time consistently. This guy is a good striker of the ball. We've had a lot of players at Tottenham who have hated the football, who have not wanted the football, and Winks was one of the main guys for it. This guy wants the ball. He wants it. He's going to get you moving. Like I said, he is bringing sexy back. He's bringing football back. He's bringing je ne sais quoi, that X factor, that special, something that you will actually want to go and pay to get into the stadium and watch, firsthand. This is what this guy is bringing back. £100 million signing. Not only that, usually when you get that sort of player, he's too lazy to go and do work. But this guy will work hard as well. We are getting a complete midfielder for £100 million. And, I almost cried when we got this one over the line, because when the rumours came out, I was like, we'll get Fernandes, but we will not get Tonali. I just didn't believe, because of transfer windows gone by. I was like, that's one too many. then I seen the Fernandes deal come in. I seen what we paid, and I'm like, now we're definitely not getting Tonali. But, I was absolutely surprised, and they landed Sandro Tonali. Even though Man City were rumored, Man City were intently interested. And that's all down to De Zerbi, by the way.
Yep.
He rang him the day after the season ended, telling him, I want you.
Yeah,
He
you're
flew
my
out-
midfielder.
Yeah. He flew out
Yeah.
to his house in Italy when he was on holidays to make him commit and get his commitment over the line and get his word.
Well said.
I absolutely
Yep.
cannot wait. He is going to be so crucial to revamping Tottenham and getting us back to being a good team on the eye, to the point where I want to watch Match of the Day after. I want to rewatch the game. I want to watch highlights again. I cannot wait. And this guy's key. Now, that's my
He's
eulogy.
bringing sexy bag.
He is.
Let's do a little Martin mic test. Martin.
Hello.
Hey. There you go.
Sorry, I had to do a hard reboot then. I don't know what went on.
Anything to add, Martin, very quickly about how great Tonali
Well,
is?
I didn't hear anything you said, so if I say something twice, I'll apologise.
Unless you had a different
take away.
question from Dave.
Don't really have a different one, to be brutally
All right.
honest with you.
All
Actually,
right.
who do you think would be the best partnership to accomplish Tonali on the pitch? Now, of course, it's going to be Lucas Bergvall in there today, which we might actually have to have a quick discussion around. But going forward, it will be one of Bentancur or Mateus Fernandes.
Yeah, the Bergvall thing. I see it last week against Oppen. I see a different player there. I see him have some work, but before that, I've not seen it. So I'm not going to throw him in as the partnership for Tonali. I think Fernandes going forward has got to be. I think what one has going forward, one has in defence. I think they're going to complement each other really, really well. I think De Zerbi recognises that, but in the meantime, we haven't seen Bentancur yet. I think there's a lot of the players that we see in the training videos and stuff. They're all there. Maddison, Udogie, Bentancur. They're all there doing Kudus. But we've not seen them in any pre-season games really yet. So I don't know whether De Zerbi's being cute with them, and they've got little niggles, and he wants them 100% right, not 95%. But the future's got to be the two we bought, surely. I just think Tonali is such a beast on the ball, and he's clever with it. And I think Fernandes he's a strong. He doesn't look 21. He's not built like a 21-year-old. He's a strong player. And I think he's got a lot of his game. He can get out of tight situations. He can put a ball in. He can have a good shot. So I think them two's the pairing for me moving forward.
Fair. Well, the lineup is out. The moment everyone's been waiting for. Jack, take it away. I don't want to steal your limelight.
Wow, putting the pressure on me because Spurs always try to confuse us with the numbering of the players. But Kinski in goals, Robertson left back, Senesi left-sided center back, Van Hecke on the right-sided center back position, with Gray as the right back. Gray captaining the side once again into an actual Premier League game, not just a friendly. Bergvall into the team, definitely showing that maybe De Zerbi has convinced him there. Gallagher in midfield alongside Tonali. We also have no Fernandes. Am I correct in seeing that?
Yeah.
Who's maybe the
He's
partner?
on the bench. So
Yeah.
He's on the bench.
You've got
So
Tonali and Bergvall and Gallagher in your midfield.
Yeah. So I think Dave pretty much called that, by the way. Again, another reason to become a member. Check out the members preview. Dave did, before we moved on from the midfield, did call that out. Like, is there a chance that Fernandes isn't available for this game? Maybe fully fit. And Bergvall's been playing all preseason. So who's to say that Bergvall won't start? So Dave, you're spot on there. And then up front, I think we predicted this one. Tell, Richarlison, and Mikey Moore.
Huge opportunity for Mikey Moore today.
100%.
I mean, look, we'll leave the lineup on screen. Jack, did you go through the bench quickly? People love to know who's on the bench.
Dubravka, Danzo. Yeah, and also because Spurs try to make the font as tiny as possible. Dubravka, Danzo, Maddison, Udogie, Fernandes, Solanke is there. Bentancur, Davis, and then Williams Barnett is on the bench, which is very good to see. No Mickey Van de Ven on the bench.
And no Kudu Cider. So it's confirmed, that he's out.
No Porro either.
Funeral. No Porro either, yeah. To be fair. So a lot of first team. Williams Barnett is an interesting one. I'm sure there'll be minutes there if Mikey Moore isn't performing. But look, I mean, let's have a discussion around Mikey Moore, and then we'll have a quick discussion around Matisse Tell. I mean, guys, it's been rumored that Mikey Moore has a loan move lined up. You know, De Zerbi was asked on it in his pre-match press conference, and he sort of just said, look, you know, our hands are tied at the minute until we bring players in and stuff like that. But in all intents and purposes, I think if we bring in Savinho Marmoush, I think they'll, you know, sort of send Mikey Moore out on that loan to Germany. But if he does well today and he does actually contribute, is there a case to keep the kid around? Has he done enough over the course of preseason?
He's definitely not done enough of the course of preseason, but if he does score today, I mean, he got a brace against Hoffenheim in a more competitive game, you could say. I think you would be questioning, with the fitness of this squad, are you maybe taking a bit of a risk there? Because we don't know. Kudus not on the bench, by the way. Who's to know when these guys do come back from injury and are ready to hit the ground running? Savinho would probably immediately put into the right side, but it'd be nice to have some competition there. I just feel like, to Dave's point that he's made in the past, perhaps Mikey could really benefit from just getting game minutes somewhere else, but maybe guys like him aren't really that type. Maybe they just need to be playing around experienced players, really good players in front of them, learn off of them, learn from the manager, know what he wants them to be doing out on the wing or through the middle, wherever position Mikey Moore ends up playing in the future, let's say. I just wonder if certain players maybe benefit more from just sticking around the camp, learning from the guys, developing in the background, maybe in ways that we're not able to even tell or see. And then other guys are more meant to just be loaned out repeatedly to get that experience, learn on the ground. I just think not every player is meant to just be shipped out on loan time and time and time again. And I would make that case potentially for Mikey Moore. At the same time, though, I would say he's one that still looks a bit, maybe to Leighton Evelyn's point, a bit lightweight at times, maybe does need a bit of experience in terms of developing his body, growing a bit, getting stronger, getting quicker.
Can I ask a question on
as
that,
well? But I lean both ways. I could see the benefits of him being loaned out, but I also see the benefits of him sticking around here, which you've made in the past.
I just want to say, just quickly, big up to Soren here. This is Soren OCD Whiskey.
Big up,
We've been
Soren.
watching from my hospital bed. Got a good feeling for today. Don't miss me too much on the panel. We certainly have missed you today.
We have missed you, man.
Soren, it would have been good to get the whole band back together. To be honest with you, I thought you were either farming or off on one of your annual cruises. I didn't actually realize you were in the hospital bed. You never actually told me when we were communicating. So sorry to hear that, Soren. Hopefully, I know you did have an issue, you know, all last season and stuff like that. Maybe this is hopefully, you know, the culmination of it and you're getting the treatment for it. Hopefully this is what it is, Soren, but hopefully we can get you in and we'll certainly keep you in our thoughts for the watch along. And everyone in the chat, please show Soren some love. You know, it's not easy to keep coming on when you're down in 17th, losing game after game. And this guy was there consistently last season. So please, let's not forget about him and show him some love.
Legend.
Big up, Soren. Look, when it comes to Archie Gray, I think the talent is clearly
Mikey Moore?
there. Oh, sorry, Mikey Moore. The talent is clearly there with Mikey Moore, in my opinion. The end product is also there with Mikey Moore, in my opinion. So why are we really sending him out on loan? There's nothing really for him to learn at these other clubs out on loan. Now, I take the argument, is he physically ready? Could he, you know, learn to, you know, with his running style and weights and improving the leg muscles and stuff, become quicker and stuff like that? Of course. But Tottenham is supposed to have one of the most state-of-the-art training complexes. So would he not benefit from staying around and using our equipment, then heading out to some of these other clubs that don't have as good equipment and stuff like that for me? So that's where I make the argument. I'd also make that argument for Luca Williams-Barnett to a certain degree. Maybe he does need one or loan moves, two loan moves like Mikey Moore, just to get used to the senior game and learn to deal with physicality and stuff like that. But after that, then, I think if the talent's there, you get them in and around. So it'll be interesting to see whether he takes his opportunity today and gives food for thought on that. I mean, Stevie,
for me, for me, I just what is the plan, Pim? We've had this young talent coming through for such a long time. He's not just turned up overnight. You know, we've known all about him, and they're sitting here today going, well, depends what happens on Monday. You know, they don't know what they're doing with him, so they've got no real plan. And I'm in the camp of, he went out last year, he had a good, you know, in a tough league up there in Scotland where they don't like the English at best of times, but he turned around, they took to him. you know, and he overcome all them little barriers, which are big barriers to a young 17-year-old kid going up to Scotland. You know, he won't understand the England-Scotland divide, how they are, all this other stuff. And, you know, they wanted him out and he overcome it, and they loved him in the end and singing songs about him. He scored in the Old Firm derby. There's all these things there, and we haven't got a plan for him. That worries me a hell of a lot. Now, he's been out, he's had his good loan, he done well at his loan, we've brought him back. Now, let's say we write this season off for him, he might get a few bit part players, but let him have a year with De Zerbi, and De Zerbi mould him into what he wants. And he tells him, you bulk up, you get your strengthening in your legs, all these things you've mentioned, Dave. But when you come in, I want you to do this. And then he could be De Zerbi's player, and he's moulded, and then next year he is 100% ready to go. Because if wherever he goes, he could, if he went to West Ham, which you go, oh, it's a championship team, he'd be doing all right. They train in porter cabins over in a park in Dagenham, right? Why would you take him away from that, right? Take him away from the state-of-the-art what we've got, and go and ship him over Dagenham Central Park and stick him in a porter cabin. What are you helping him? So the plan now for me is, if you're not going to give him game time, but just a little bit, get tonight. So I'm reading it on the thing. Get De Zerbi to blood him into the player he wants, and say, you've got a year to prove to me behind the scenes you can bulk up. You're going to be physically stronger. I want you to work on this in your mental strength, and mould him into the player that everyone has been lauding him since a youngster. That's surely more beneficial than sticking him in at Lincoln or Peterborough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can talk about Dagenham because I know it very well. So don't all the Essex people, West Ham fans, come for me.
I love that absolute passionate plea for Mikey Moore's case. But Lizzie has responded, Steve. He says, Mike needs to be playing every weekend against grown-ups. Not going to happen this season in this squad.
Yeah, I'm going to push back against this one on Lazy 8, because here's the thing. The reason why I would prefer Mikey Moore to stay is because initially across the attacking three, we're just not good enough. And we have no idea if we're going to get Marmoush and Gakpo in. And so from that standpoint, we don't know when, Kudus and Decky are going to be back in order to man and compete on that right side. And so from that standpoint, at least for the first 6 months, we're going to have depth on the right side. And Mikey Moore will get his opportunity, whether it is the last 20 minutes of a Premier League game, whether that's rotation and cup competitions. He's going to get his opportunity to, get his starts and get his minutes and continue to develop. And I think that for the initial first 6 months of the season, I think that's going to pay off. And if it turns out that we do get more incomings and we're going to have that flexibility where more can go out, okay, great. I still think a January transfer makes a little bit more sense for the last bits of the season than it is for the first bits of the season, because we absolutely just need that competition and we need that depth on the right side. And, to everything Martin and Jack said, it's 100% true. And I think, overcoming those mental barriers on loan, especially for a team like Rangers that has massive expectations, to be able to get over it in the first couple months of the season, to go on to be what I think he was their young player of the season last year, right? To go from how he started last year to the end of the season. I thought it showed so much growth and improvement in his game, but also his mental game as well too, where I think it just kind of makes sense that you would keep Mikey Moore at least for the first half of the season until we actually have some clear definition of exactly who's going to be, back into the fold on that right side. And let's also understand that Mikey Moore is, potentially going to, play well for this team this year. So, yeah.
Fair. Take a couple of chats here and then maybe we'll end off on a quick discussion around Matisse Tal. Colin Turner's, and I think Colin Turner's probably absolutely spot on here. I see a lot of different opinions around the lineup. People question where the goals going to come from, why Archie Gray is captain and stuff like that. I think we sort of said earlier on that Gray was going to be captain. There's no Mickey van de Ven due to being injured. There's no Ben Davies just because the guy's useless. There's who else isn't starting? Pedro Porro because he's let back from the World Cup. So automatically then falls into Gray's hands because he's in that group. So that explains that. But, you know, a lot of Spurs fans aren't really too happy with the lineup. I can understand it to a certain extent, but Colin Turner gives a brilliant explanation. The lineup for now is based on fitness. It will change in time. Be patient. And I think you're absolutely spot on. I think everyone should have seen it coming you know, the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last week, you know, that was going to be his lineup due to what was available to him. We've got Sligo Spurs in the house. Big up, gents. Good to see you, Sligo Spurs. Hopefully you're keeping well, my man. And we've got a couple of chats here to get to. Dark Song G, really appreciate the support. And joining in on the conversation, my man, says, imagine our squad starting 11 and bench once Porro, Van de Ven, Kudus, Omar, Savino, Kulu, Xavi, and Wilson return. Then we can change games easier for once. Come on, you Spurs. And I think Dark Song G is sort of also, you know, responding to some of the criticism or maybe some of the concerns around the lineup we've put out here this afternoon, Jack.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to see it already. Like, people are a little concerned by the lineup.
Fair.
I understand, like, people have taken a large break from Spurs this summer, but people like yourself, Dave, people like myself, we kind of did know that this was always going to be a sort of a lineup, as someone put in the chat, more or less based on fitness and guys that De Zerbi feels like he can pick and be able to play for the most part 90 minutes. And I respect that. Also, knowing our injury history, that was probably a wise move to not risk anybody and have somebody that might not really have had a lot of preseason minutes in their legs, people that might not actually be fully fit or might be a slight doubt, to throw them in straight away at the start of the Premier League season could be a massive risk. So I think there was always going to be a very haphazard sort of 50% type of lineup to what we'll be seeing in about 2-3 weeks time. I totally agree, Dark Sun G. I'm excited about the depth we're going to have. I'm excited about the competition that will be there. I think Wilson Odegaard, when he comes back into this team, will have guys in front of him to compete with. He'll have Savino, have Tell, he'll have Kudus, Kulusevski. I mean, he's going to, as much as I know Steve loves him, Dave loves him, he's going to have a lot of guys to compete with in the number 10 role, potentially at the right wing. It's going to be exciting to see also as well, just some of these guys come back and really pushing to get back into the first team, which breeds a good environment, breeds competition. People aren't, you know, expected just to be starting week in, week out. I think that's always a good thing too, is to have guys feel like they have to really earn their spot in the team under De Zerbi as well.
100%. I fully agree. I think within, you know, 3 to 4 games coming into the season, that lineup's going to change with players coming back and stuff. And, you know, we're going to have good options off the bench. Big up, Dark Song G. Really appreciate the support, my man, and really good explanation on that, Jack. And then we've also got Vandal Ross in the house. Or Vandal Rossi, he's changed his name, member for 36 months. Let's do this, lads. Come on, you Spurs. You won't believe this, but, you know, I've got a little sort of mark on my screen. Shows I need to clean it. But it actually says, let's do tits, lads. So that's why I stalled reading that one. But it says, let's do this, lads. Come on, you Spurs.
Big up, Vandal. Really, really kind. Been around for a long, long time, 36 months. Really generous. Appreciate you, my friend. Vandal Rossi's gone Italian.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Big up, Vandal Ross. We need to change the first name to a more Italian one, though. I would suggest if you're going all out Italian, but big up, Vandal Ross. Lads, last question. Look, I think everyone sort of understands a lot of the attacking burden and responsibility probably falls on Matisse Tell's shoulders today. Is he ready to burden that?
Is Mikey Moore going to play on the left and Tell going on the right? It's got to be
on the left, Mikey Moore on the right.
Tell
you
left,
think
Mikey
so?
Moore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we saw against
the way it was
Hoffenheim.
against Hoffenheim.
Yeah.
I'll talk again.
You're not convinced,
I'm happy to. I love Matisse Tell. I think Matisse Tell can carry us, to be honest. I think he showed it in the last 7 to 8 games. He can carry the attacking burden, the creative burden. I think he's shown recently that he can take players on. He can beat his man. I think he'll be fine today. I'm excited about him this season, to be perfectly honest, because I think before, I love when this happens. Dave and I have had this happen plenty of times, where you kind of go full circle on a player, where at one point you didn't really see what was there. You didn't believe in him that much. You're like, why did we get this guy? What does he actually do? What does he offer? And then I think he's improved pretty dramatically, at least in my opinion. I know people might not feel as strongly as I do about it, but I think he has shown very recently in preseason and in the last few games under De Zerbi that this guy is capable of being that dynamic winger that we've been needing, that can take his player on, have a shot on goal. I have some question marks about maybe the end product.
Having stability though, Jack, like with the manager, where before he had Ainge and he was bit apart and then it was the Frank, and You know, does he feel settled and feel that bit more confident? And he's been
struggle.
used in pre-season to come along, you know?
It could be instability because Thomas Frank, his favorite thing to do was to drop any player that was playing well, which I don't think bodes for any good. Like, no matter how experienced you are, no matter how old you are, even Paulinho at one stage was dropped and like looked a little rusty when he first came back in because Thomas Frank decided to drop literally his best player of the season. I remember Wilson Odebear, he dropped. Matisse Telly dropped during like a patch of form. So that could definitely get to him. I think really the issue is, and Dave has brought this up, we just signed a 19-year-old and we expected a 19-year-old to come into the team and save Ange Postecoglou's season. Like Ange was crying out for a striker, someone to be able to supply the goals, be someone that could actually put away the chances.
I think that was a big part of the, look, take him off our hands and we don't have to pay you the rest of the game money. It was one of them deals that, and unfortunately the kid was, well, I think he was 18 at the time, wasn't he?
Correct.
And he was
It was a
in.
Johan Lange deal. It was easy. It was simple. It was convenient, but it didn't actually solve any of the problems.
But it doesn't help the player, though, does it?
Expected to carry the burden.
It doesn't help the player, and then you know it's the player that's thrown out on the pitch, and it's you know, and you see him, he was fighting Angie's corner with the fans and things like that. I think he's a good kid around the dressing room and does that. But you know, let's hope that with De Zerbi that he's put his faith in him and he's giving that confidence. And he's going to give him that game time to really show. But I don't think we've got time for passengers this year. And if he doesn't work out, which I agree with you, Jack, I think there has been more signs to say it will work out than it won't. But it's just that pinning hope on the youngsters again. You know, and we were finding it difficult as fans watching it. You know, they're in there living it. You know, and if they don't want to be there or the manager's not being nice to them and all this, they're kids at 18. If your boss at work told you this, you'd lose sleep over it. Do you know what I mean? And it was, but they've got to go out and perform in front of 60,000 people and do their job at 18. You know, we'd all give our right arm to do it, but you still have to factor in these things.
I just think when you sign a teenager, you have to remain patient and you have to as well realize that they are going to be rusty. They are going to take a while to show any sort of signs of them being able to contribute. And unfortunately, he was signed and expected to sort of hit the ground running, and that just never was going to be the case. I even was guilty of it, where felt like we were sort of blaming Matisse Tell for maybe the incompetence of Johan Lange actually trying to help the squad and trying to help his own manager and trying to succeed. So I think what the case was with Matisse Tell, he was always going to be raw. He always was going to have time to need to develop, and we didn't have that time with Matisse Tell. We needed him to hit the ground running. Thankfully, we didn't get relegated both times. Finished 17 twice in a row. But now I'm starting to see the signs. And like I said in the beginning, I did not rate him when he first came. Didn't rate him when he was honestly here for the first 1.5 seasons. But I saw something in him sort of at times under Frank. But then under De Zerbi, I absolutely was seeing the signs of improvement. And then I would say he's probably been one of our best players this preseason. I'm excited about Matisse Tell this season.
He's probably loving the fact that De Zerbi's training and that, isn't he? He's probably, this is what I wanted. This is, you know, and it allows them to be free and let them come out their shell a bit and take a few more risks, because that's what we've all said. He does his bit and then it's like he don't know what to do. But if he's told, just do it and try it, you will get there. Do you know? It's just that confidence build. And he's getting older. He's been here a couple of years now. Now this is your platform, son.
Yeah. I mean, Dave and I have been oohing and ahhing when he's taken his players on. He's absolutely skinning guys alive over there on the wing right now. So I'm excited to see what he's capable of. But some people in the chat, like AK Shegs, are saying, the worry is that are we still going to be the team that is obviously going to be playing down the left-hand side? He's going to be triple marked, quadruple marked. That could easily be the case. But I'll be honest, I thought he still was actually creating for us under De Zerbi last season when he was being triple marked and double marked. It's
but then if you've got Marmoush in the middle and 2-3 players go over,
he's supposed to be on the right side to balance things out. He's the guy that's supposed to be there to also occupy attention, also drag defenders over to his side to take the burden away from Tell.
But that's what the rest of the
I'm
team's
happy with
got
Tell
to make
doing
that
this on the left
space
side for the next few games. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I like this conversation because I think the same applies to Matisse Tell that applies to Big Tony Kinski as well too. When you have a manager that puts an arm around his shoulder and lets you know that he has faith in his abilities, all that does is just breed confidence within the player. And I think you've seen the improvement of Matisse Tell over the last year. He looks visibly bigger, so he's added muscle to his frame. And when you see him on the pitch, you can see that he's playing with a tremendous amount of confidence. Whereas, it looked like when he was learning on the job that he was trying to figure out, how he was going to make this work. And now he just attacks defenders with confidence. And even when he's playing balls into the box, you can see that he's playing with confidence as well too. And I think that is night and day improvement over the last couple of managers that we've had, where they had to use him out of necessity and they understood that he was raw and you're just kind of hoping for the best. And now Roberto De Zerbi actually treats him like the asset that he is. And I think, from that standpoint, you've just seen the improvement. It's absolutely night and day. And so you're kind of looking at the future of this position, and you're actually factoring Matisse Tell into the equation, because it looks like the light's finally gone on with him when it comes to football IQ. He's absolutely blown me away with his improvement. So from that standpoint, I'm absolutely rooting for Matisse Tell, because I actually think he's got the goods. And who knows? Maybe De Zerbi looks at him long term in his natural position. And I think with the experience that he has on the left, if he makes that transition back to his natural position, I think it's only going to help him. So from that standpoint, I think he's an asset that we can visibly look at 5 years down the road, and he's going to be an integral part of this attack.
It's almost like De Zerbi's walked into the football club and said, look, whatever's gone on before, whatever sort of expectation and burdens you're carrying into games, forget it. Leave it to a side. You're still a young guy. You look at that period as you've gained experience. Now let's improve you. Let's go into games fresh. You're my main guy. I think it goes a long way to some of these kids. As a youngster, you do need someone that believes in you. Because you need them to believe in you to give you the opportunity. And you also need them to keep believing in you, to keep giving you the opportunities and look after your career and protect you. At a young age, it's so important to have that guy. And it does look like De Zerbi has made him that guy. With Ange Postecoglou, I don't think he ever really believed he was his main guy. Same with Thomas Frank. Whereas with De Zerbi, I think De Zerbi's come in, pulled him aside and said, Matisse, you're the only guy I can rely on over these next couple of games where the goals are going to come from you causing havoc, from you putting crosses into the box. I need you. And sometimes, honestly, I believe that's what Jed Spence needed at Tottenham. If one manager had done that with Jed Spence, you would have seen Jed Spence kick on maybe even displace Porro out of the team. I think, I think Matisse Tell has certainly sort of, benefit from that. And look, it's all on him today, and hopefully he can come good. I know it's a lot of pressure put on young shoulders, but, he's probably the best in the forward line that we've got today. So hopefully he can deliver. But guys, we'll wrap this up. I want to say a massive thank you to Stevie, Martin, and Dermo for joining us today. And also, Soren wanted to be here but couldn't. He is in hospital, so please remember that and send him your love, even if you see him popping in and out during the watch along with comments and that. I want to say a massive thank you to all you guys at home. The new season is upon us. Myself and Jack will be back in half an hour's time to kick off the watch along for the opening game of the season. Hopefully we can get off to a win. It's been one hell of a start to these pre-match build-ups towards the season. At times, I think today we peaked at like 540 people watching and tuning in. Hopefully that's only the start of the excitement and things to come. Hopefully that continues and we can all enjoy building up to these games together, and it helps us take off the ease the nerves and the attention sometimes heading into these games as well. Also want to say a massive thank you to the people who have gone the extra mile today. I want to say a massive thank you to Big T, We Are Spurs TV, one and only Dark Sun G. We've got Mr. Larson, the chef. We've also got Breezy Gas. And I want to say a massive thank you as well to Vandel Rossi. Absolutely love that. And to all of you guys who have stayed with us over the course of the last 2 hours, and everyone who has also helped us out by smashing that like button. That's enough from us. We're going to rest the voice box so we can be fully back in half an hour. Absolutely raring to go. Go and get a drink, get a Sambo into you, and come on,
you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Baby. Spurs are back.
Kulizeski forever.
Spurs are back.
Oh, thank you very much, gentlemen. I